pegar el sticker en el piano. Así cada vez que miras al piano, te acuerdas de que el piano en ruso es pianina, ¿no? Así funciona. La palabra la pared en ruso es stena, escribes stena, la pared, y lo pegas el sticker en la pared. Y eso funciona de verdad, porque al mismo tiempo no gastas tiempo para aprender algo, pero cada día vas mirando estos stickers y al final terminas recordando estas palabras para siempre. Otro life hack sería poner de fondo de pantalla una imagen con la lista de las palabras que te gustaría aprender. Te voy a enseñar cómo hago estas imágenes yo. Yo también añado unos emojis para que se vea un poco más divertida la imagen. Si dejas un fondo de pantalla, por ejemplo, para 5 días, digamos, y luego lo cambias, pues así cada 5 días aprenderás palabras nuevas, sin hacer nada. Porque vas a mirar a estas palabras cada día, muchas veces al día. También te aconsejo escuchar la radio online de Rusia. A mí personalmente, yo no vivo en Rusia, yo vivo en Kazajistán, así que no puedo escuchar la radio en la emisora, por eso escucho la radio online. Y una de mis estaciones favoritas de la radio de Rusia se llama Jazz FM. Y lo bonito de este life hack es que no siempre tienes que escuchar el idioma que no entiendes, ¿sabes? Porque sí que ponen la música de idiomas diferentes, pero cuando empiezan los anuncios o cuando empieza a hablar alguien quien trabaja en la radio, pues empiezas a escuchar y intentar a entender algunas palabras o frases, ¿no? Y luego de nuevo empiezas a escuchar la música, así que te relajas y luego aprendes, te relajas y aprendes. Así que creo que es un life hack perfecto para alguien quien está aprendiendo un idioma nuevo. Así que si a ti te han gustado los life hacks, puedes darle like a este vídeo. Suscríbete a mi canal si aún no lo has hecho. Y como siempre, llenemos el mundo con la gente que consigue sus sueños. Besos y muchísima suerte con el ruso.
Y así es como una mañana soleada en Loquendo City, Marcay entraba a su estudio con la intención de iniciar un nuevo video.
¿Quién dijo eso?
Marcay, al escuchar una voz nueva provenir de la nada, entró en pánico.
Pikachu, el techo me está hablando.
¿Vas a presentar el video o solo vas a hablar con el techo?
Cierto. Las estafas tristemente...
Hola, soy Alice.
Hola a todos, me llamo Olena, soy traductora, profesora de idiomas y políglota. Bienvenidos a mi curso intensivo de ruso y hoy vamos a hablar sobre los pronombres personales y también vamos a ver un poquito de los verbos. Entonces, este es el curso de 20 clases de ruso básico. Vamos allá. Lo primero de todo es que tenemos que saber que en ruso hay 3 géneros. No como en español 2, ¿no? O en inglés que no hay ni uno. Entonces, en ruso hay 3. ¿Cuáles son? Pues femenino, masculino y neutro. Vale. Los pronombres personales son 8. Entonces, ya, ti, on, ana y ano. Aquí nos aparece ano, que es neutro, ¿vale? Lo único que tenéis que recordar que es neutro. On, masculino, ana, femenino. Мы, вы y они. Они vale para los 2 géneros, no como en español, no distinguimos ellas o ellos. Entonces, repetimos. Я, ты, он, она, оно. Мы, вы y они. ¿Qué pasa con los verbos? Los verbos responden a la pregunta ¿qué hacer? Vamos a ver algunos verbos regulares. Делать. Делать. Hacer. Vamos a conjugarlo. Я делаю. Ты делаешь. Он, она, оно, los tres terminan con la misma terminación. Делает. Мы делаем. И вы делаете. Y por último, они делают. Pues que vemos que estas terminaciones, las que están aquí en la lista, siempre van a seguir la misma regla para conjugar los verbos regulares. Recordamos, я termina con you, ты con ешь, он, она, оно con ед, мы ем, вы ете y они ют. Vale, eso es las terminaciones típicas. Otro verbo, спрашивать. Я спрашиваю. Ты спрашиваешь. Он, она, оно спрашивает. Мы спрашиваем. Вы спрашиваете. Y они спрашивают. Por lo que vemos, nada ha cambiado. Играть. Играть. Я играю. Ты играешь. Он, она, оно играет. Мы играем. Вы играете. Они играют. Un momentito, aquí ponedme comentarios abajo de este vídeo para que yo sepa si a vosotros es necesario que ponga traducción en español, o sea, que lo digan. ¿Cómo se dice? Mucho es много y мало es poco. Entonces, repito, много, мало, para daros ejemplos con estos verbos para que ya podáis formar pues una oración, ¿no? Y también os voy a dar adverbios de frecuencia, los que responden a la pregunta ¿cómo? No, ¿con qué frecuencia? ¿No? Pues всегда, часто, иногда, никогда. Repito, всегда, часто, иногда, никогда. Bien, también os voy a decir expresiones de frecuencia. Каждое утро, каждый день, каждый вечер, каждую ночь. Y aquí cambió, каждую ночь. No os preocupéis porque esto es simplemente porque es femenino y recordad que va a ser каждую y la terminación tendría ую, no и. Каждый месяц, bien. Каждый год, tampoco cambia. Pero каждую неделю. Каждую неделю. Voy a repetirlo. Каждое утро. Утро es neutro, pues por lo tanto es каждое. Con oye la terminación. No cambia cuando es masculino. Каждый день, каждый вечер, каждый год, каждый месяц. Y cambiaría en femenino por ую la terminación porque es femenino. Каждую ночь. Каждую неделю. Muy bien. Y también daré algunas otras expresiones. Por ejemplo, sobre los idiomas. По-русски. По-английски. По-испански. По-немецки. Vamos a ver algunos ejemplos. Я понимаю много по-русски. Os digo desde ya que podéis cambiar el orden de ruso, no es obligatorio. El orden no nos importa y más en vuestro nivel. A veces sí que importa porque les dais más énfasis a la frase, más emoción, más sentimiento, pero eso ahora mismo no importa. Lo podéis poner como queráis. Por ejemplo, я много понимаю по-русски. Он мало понимает по-английски. O он понимает по-английски мало. O по-английски она понимает много. Mirad, que no cambia nada. La traducción sigue siendo igual. Seguimos. Я играю в футбол каждый день. Мы играем в баскетбол каждую неделю. Круто. Я работаю много. Они работают мало. Или они мало работают. Son vagos. Я читаю книги каждый вечер. Bueno amigos, no sé si habéis notado que yo siempre pongo las encuestas aquí. Me gusta saber pues si os gusta mi vídeo, si necesito mejorar algo, si hablo rápido, si hablo lento, si interactúo bien con vosotros, puntos a mejorar. Pincháis aquí y os salen las preguntas. Muchas gracias. Ты читаешь журналы каждую ночь. Ты меняешь деньги каждый месяц. Мы думаем много. Или я мало думаю по-испански. О, я всегда думаю по-испански. Я часто думаю по-русски. Мы считаем деньги каждый день. Вы считаете деньги каждое утро. Por si trabajamos, ¿no? En una oficina. Y, por ejemplo, pues si recibimos dinero cada mes, мы получаем деньги каждый месяц. Я получаю каждый день деньги. Da igual el orden. Bueno, si os ha gustado el vídeo, si os ha sido útil, ponedme un like y suscribiros, porque así no perderéis ninguno de mis vídeos, porque más adelante mis vídeos van a avanzar mucho más y os van a servir mucho más. Que tengáis un buen día. Paca, paca.
Hola mundo, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo estáis? Mirad, estoy grabando este vídeo porque se me acaba de eliminar lo que he grabado y lo estoy haciendo otra vez. Después de editar y guardarlo todo, pues no me sale buena calidad. Entonces, pues lo que me toca es grabarlo otra vez, esta parte. Y bueno, bienvenidos en este vídeo. No es una clase normal, es como si fuera un repaso de la primera clase de ruso básico de mis 20 clases en mi canal.
Si le permitimos a la conciencia que haga su trabajo, puedes encontrar el fallo en el defecto humano. Hemos cometido un error al separar el arte y la geometría. Matemática, ciencia vive en el sonido. Culpables somos al ocultárselo a nuestros hijos. Tu visión es una vibración en el sonido, una combinación de tus ojos y tus oídos. Esto es arte con sentido. La divina proporción. Como Da Vinci pone los códigos en las pinturas escondidos. Inscriptos en la pintura para confundir y desviar el enemigo. One the Vitruvian men and the 12 disciples. Run the cycles, enjoy the last supper. Dimension to the king chamber. The rust town, the gold mountain, to the alpha y omega. Yo quiero saber si tú tienes la capacidad mental para descifrar lo que con tus ojos ves. Y dentro del dibujo del Vitruvian Man encontraremos secretos que pueden fortalecer el ser. ¿Qué hace María Magdalena con un cuchillo en la mano? Y Pedro agarrándole el pulso. Hay muchas cosas pasando, hablándole al oído como que están conspirando. Y Judas con 30 piezas de plata analizando. ¿Dónde será esta reunión? Ese cuarto en la gran pirámide de Giza tiene la misma dimensión del cuarto dibujado en la pintura del Vaticano, hecho para los observantes interesados. Escondidos en secreto from the premise, para no perder su vida en the wrong fight. Vivimos en un mundo lleno de bunch of lies. Women lie, men lie, numbers don't lie. Que se esconde dentro del arte del Vitruvian Man. Isis cortó a Osiris en 14 pedazos, dime por qué. Da Vinci divide el cuerpo del Vitruvian Man en 14 piezas. Dime tú cuál es la coincidencia. triángulo dentro del círculo nos da la combinación del alfa y el omega. ¿Cuál es la coincidencia que 137 bloques caben dentro del chamber? Pi to the 7 power
La divina
architecture.
proporción. Como Da Vinci pone los códigos en la pintura escondidos. Inscriptos en la pintura para confundir y desviar el enemigo. One the Vitruvian man and the 12 disciples run the cycles and you're the last supper. Dimension to the king chamber, the rust tower,
The Bull Mountain to the alfa y omega. El ojo derecho de Ra pintado arriba en la ventana de la última cena. La energía del Yang se refleja. Otra pieza de arte que nadie sospecha. El ojo izquierdo de Horus en la pintura de Amberlin, cargando la energía del Yin, la luz de la luna, buscando la fortuna de los secretos en la pintura. Dichosos son los ojos que pueden descifrar las escrituras. El mensaje dentro del mensaje es la montura.
todo en parábola. En la pintura se oculta la verdad. Detrás de todo esto vamos a encontrar de dónde fue que vino la humanidad.
No te confundas con el tiempo. Cojan sus asientos. Mira a tu alrededor y préstale atención al 100%. Atento, nada de lamentos. Vamos aprendiendo con la vibración del cycle más despierto.
Leonardo puso los mensajes a través de la pintura que nos hablan a través del tiempo. ¿Por qué será que él viajaba con la Mona Lisa para todos lados? ¿Qué tan importante es su secreto? El número 72 y un paisaje de montañas. Siento que las imágenes nos hablan. Agua, roca, lavas, puentes. Para la izquierda pone su mirada.
Puedes notar dos lugares diferentes en la pintura. Y las montañas no tienen el mismo nivel de altura. En sus ojos tiene la L y la S en la parte oscura. Y debajo del puente el número 72 sin duda. Da Vinci decía que la pintura es la apariencia que viste la verdad. Era su manera de hablar para el que sabe observar. Nos quiso dejar mucho antes de marchar. Ahora te toca a ti usar tu capacidad
La
mental.
divina proporción. Como Da Vinci pone los códigos en la pintura escondidos. Inscriptos en la pintura para confundir y desviar el enemigo. One the Vitruvian man and the 12 disciples run the cycles and you're the last supper. Dimension to the king chamber, the rust tower,
The Bull Mountain to the alfa y
la
omega.
divina proporción. Como Da Vinci pone los códigos en la pintura escondidos. Inscriptos en la pintura para confundir y desviar el enemigo. One the Vitruvian man and the 12 disciples run the cycles and you're the last supper. Dimension to the king chamber, the rust tower,
The Bull Mountain to the alfa y omega.
¿Qué tan importante es el número 33 para los ocultos? Hagamos un examen. Jesús llevó a cabo 33 milagros y muchos como él, a la edad de 33.
Fue crucificado, maltratado y enterrado. A la edad de 33. Resucita al tercer día. 33 grados conectando profecías. ¿Qué tan especial es el número 33? Es lo que queremos entender. El rey David reinó en total por 40 años, pero en Jerusalén fue en 33. 369 uva purple Tesla. El número arquitecto del universo se refleja. 33 columnas, 33 de altura. Busca la geometría en la arquitectura. 33 rangos, 33 miembros, 33 sectores en el mundo entero. La columna vertebral humana adecuadamente cuenta con 33 vértebras. Nuestro cuerpo resuena en 33 octavas, mientras la tierra resuena en 33 armónicas. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, do, re, mi, fa, sol. Schumann como una campana. Vibración fundamental del planeta. Así como en el cielo o está en la tierra. En el Cábala, misticismo de los judíos, el árbol de la vida contiene mucha geometría escondida. 10 Zephyrus, 22 caminos. Un dad escondido nos da el número divino. Left wing, right wing, 32, 33. El águila en el dólar, the eye can see. Mount Tempo, Pike en Washington, línea de ancestros. Podemos detectar huellas de monumentos. Montañas y el sol siempre están en el centro. Rey Mount, solo la montaña y el sol. Loma, lomo, lomo, Salomón. Pausa, que la sangre se me cruza. Nos han desviado de la ruta. Hombre, ¿quién será que tiene el timón de nuestro destino? Nos han chupado la sangre como vampiros. Calma, que no panda el cúnico, somos únicos. La densidad alta llega uniendo al público.
La Y pitagórica es una ilustración vestigial de un camino por la vida, en el cual se nos presenta de forma constante una dirección simbólica.
Perpetual. Tú elige si quieres hacer el bien o hacer el mal. Dime cuál quieres representar.
De la semilla sale el árbol de la vida. Del árbol de la vida sale la flor de la vida.
De la flor de la vida sale la fruta de la vida. Todo eso hace sentido dentro de la geometría. Diagrama revela el cubo Metatron. Transformers, Enoch, Megatron. 5 sólidos cubos platónicos. Número 13, viene 13. Tetractus, Son of David, X. Tetragrammaton under the temple. Lucky 13, lucky 13, lucky 13.
It doesn't matter how deep you go.
Al final te chocarás con el sol.
Escucha, ¿cómo se puede ocultar algo positivo dándole influencia negativa en su plena vista? La mente tiene un poder inmenso. El reto es no morir en el intento. San Pedro recibió la llave para gobernar y donde puedes encontrar su cerradura. Coincidencia, no existen coincidencias. Cada símbolo usado tiene su referencia. La humanidad no sabe a lo que se enfrenta, solo siguen lo que está en tendencia. Me pregunto si la verdad algún día será tendencia o seguiremos negando su presencia. Nacemos a las 36 semanas, pero para cumplir un año contamos 12
meses.
Forzado a las reglas del sistema solar y las 12 constelaciones. Los símbolos no cambian y nunca cambiarán, empañetados por personificaciones. Antes que seas parte de una organización, averigua el símbolo que lo representa. La casa de mi padre está en el cielo, no en la tierra. Años luces de este planeta. Te repito que no existen coincidencias. Los que narran son los que ocultan las evidencias. Me doy en el pecho como King Kong, en búsqueda del verdadero kingdom. No busco seguridad, yo busco freedom. Muchos piensan que yo vivo en el limbo. La gorra del Papa representa un día, un dios, Dagon. Muy conveniente para ellos que no sean cuestionados. En su nombre serán torturados. La varita mágica de Hollywood te hipnotiza con su magia Magic Wand. Si te fijas, todo el que tiene autoridad en la tierra conducía como un Magic Wand. La verdad se oculta en las palabras que usamos. No es un libro quien la representa. Forzados a nacer en un mundo lleno de traición, donde el vivo se aprovecha de la inocencia. El razonamiento hace que nunca caigas en ganchos que adoctrinan tu vida por una eternidad. Muchos buscan entender la vida, pero su temor los esclaviza. Atados con cadenas que no pueden ver, echándole la culpa a quien no pueden ver. Enjaulados en la cárcel Mayfairman. Saturno y su anillo no te pueden ver. Querer ayudar a tu prójimo es como tratar de vaciar el océano con un vaso. Pinto la foto como Picasso, pero su adicción es el fracaso. Formas parte del evento, pero no del club. Tu historia se terminó al final de la misión. Ellos son tan ignorantes que pensaron que nunca íbamos a notar el error hacia que piensan de nosotros. Todos pelean por el arca de la alianza sin saber que esa idea sobrevivió muchas etapas. Su bendición era pura radiación. La inocencia no conocía su intención. No haré se convirtió en no harás, sometidos a una esclavitud mental. Todo triángulo necesita un círculo perfecto. Pirámide, fuego en el centro, alineados con los números perfectos, en coherencia con el universo. Hemos ignorado el llamado por mucho tiempo. 369, número directo. Si en esta canción tú no has sentido el efecto del engaño, tu decisión fue vivir vendado. Debemos cuestionar las historias y quienes las cuentan, porque si le dedicas tiempo a la pregunta, la respuesta te encontrará a ti. ¡Cayo! Young Wizard.
Tengo la vista enfocada fuera de lo normal. Tengo el cerebro enfocado fuera de lo material, dándole al cuerpo solamente lo esencial, preparándome espiritualmente de lo que nadie puede escapar.
7 días de las semanas, en 7 días puedes cumplir lo que te dé la gana. Despertaste y te saliste de la manada. Un hombre peligroso no deja nada para mañana. Para mí el tiempo no existe, no. Si sales del sistema solar te darás cuenta que no existe el tiempo. Formados de átomos sin nadie que no lo explique. Me estoy conectando de la antena invisible. Enfocándome dentro de mí hay algo que me está guiando los pasos. Preparándome para entender lo que no se puede ver.
Mira cómo se me prende la música y cómo le corto la cabeza a Medusa. Muchos tienen la cabeza confusa, en sus distracciones se perdieron de ruta. Dime de dónde tú obtienes tu información. Dime cómo sabes su función. ¿Dónde lo viste? ¿La televisión o un amigo de un amigo te contó? Babbling, Babylon, Babylon. Falsa información passing on. Sin cuestionar, just a trending word. Todo el mundo involucrado en el bond. Ojos para el que puede ver, oídos para el que puede entender. Composiciones de frases para el que puede entender.
Adam vivió 930 años. Noah vivió 950. Metúsela 969 años. Vivió 912 años. Hoy los hijos del Padre no limitaron los años y fuimos desgraduados a los 120 años.
Ya tú puedes ver que tenemos el poder para florecer. Así como el Padre lo hizo, también tú tendrás el poder de permanecer. 7 cosas que tú debes saber. Créeme que te van a temer. Estas son las 7 formas de cómo tú puedes ser peligroso para la sociedad que te quiere joder.
Nunca te dará felicidad. La constante búsqueda del dopamina solo es un alivio temporal.
El proceso de la vida es el desafío de encontrar la paz. Abriendo los secretos fundamentales del universo. Tratando de ponerle sentido a la vida en nuestro ascenso. Yo te pongo la verdad en un formato digerible. Muchos creían que no era posible. Testigos soy, seguimos firmes.
¿Por qué será que somos los culpables de los errores cometidos antes? Condenaron los hijos del Padre. Fuego eterno, lámpara de sal.
Pura ignorancia con enfermos de salud. La iglesia interpretándolo como un vudú. No podían entender, but what can you do? Deshacerse del problema, right from the roots.
The book of Genesis, born from the anomalous. City of the sun, lit in the abyss. Written on the wall for the next king. The bloodline from the east.
Immortality, practicando alchemy. Looking for the facts of the prophecy.
Never give a chance to the enemy. Aunque tú no lo puedes ver, él te ve a ti.
Tengo la vista enfocada fuera de lo normal. Tengo el cerebro enfocado fuera de lo material, dándole al cuerpo solamente lo esencial, preparándome espiritualmente de lo que nadie puede escapar. ¿Dónde está el camino? Por ahí dicen que es parte del destino. Yeah, como Octopus, todo el mundo está consciente de la corrupción, pero nadie dice nada, todo el mundo es playing dumb.
Ellos controlan el mundo from the shadows. Like an octopus camuflajeado.
choque al mundo, yo le di banda. Estamos claros de lo que se mueve, propaganda. Octopus, with their hands everywhere. The dark, be prepared.
Nuestros líderes no son líderes, son títeres. En un gobierno invisible que desde la oscuridad nadie puede ver. En una agenda que ninguno de nosotros formamos partes. No hay que ir muy lejos para que te topes con el fraude.
Órdenes fraternales running the country. Para nadie es un secreto, everybody know this. They fund both sides of the aisle.
Para un conflicto mundial se necesita colaboración internacional. Médicos, jueces, políticos, abogados, bankers. Mantendrán una civilización entera en pausa aunque se encuentre la cura del cáncer. ¿Cuál es el avance? Aquí nadie tiene el chance. A Kennedy le volan la cabeza por querer exponer el fraude.
Ellos controlan el mundo from the shadows.
No es contra carne nuestra lucha, sino contra poderes y autoridades en la oscuridad.
Todo el mundo aquí se entretiene. Nadie sabe what to do. Forzando a la gente que se vayan en contra, que se arme el rebú. Nos tiene jugando el juego, dándole vuelta a la ruleta rusa. Esqueletos en el closet esperando salir a la luz. Déjalo que se exploten. Se joderán los inocentes. Los cánticos del octopus manejan el mundo como puppeteers. En un plato de ensalada comen todos a la vez. You have that recorded in your brain. Enough to wake up your inside, your flame.
Pero para explicar esto tenemos que ir al principio de todo, en un alrededor de 4500 años atrás.
The Kingdom of the Babylonians.
La religión del sol, la adoración del sol.
Atun Shamash, the same God.
De reino en reino infiltrando dinastía,
conservando el mismo símbolo, llevándolo a diferentes culturas.
Mithra, worship of the sun god,
tiene su sucesor hoy en día.
Cultum illustratum.
Las sociedades secretas no respetan constitución de ningún país. Al menos que sea inútil negarlo. Quieren desarmarnos para que no podamos defendernos y tengamos que depender totalmente del gobierno. ¡Qué infierno!
¿Tú crees que la seguridad que tienes hoy es libertad? Te acostumbraste a esa comodidad. Esclavos de la modernidad.
Le faltan el respeto a tus derechos, te tumban la puerta.
Get down, hands up, don't make me move.
They lied on the news. They say the wrong things about you. It's an ambush. Nunca te darán el chance de defender tu honor.
And tell the truth.
No quieren gobiernos constitucionales,
ni mejoría, ni consejos, ni progreso, ni votos. Solo buscan desmantelar los establecimientos eclesiásticos, ya que sus predecesores tuvieron que bregar con eso antes.
Now they move to new things.
Novus ordo seclorum.
¿Y tú en la calle te consideras gangsta?
Real gangsta.
It's the ones that nobody knows their face.
They wear a suit and a tie. Y tú eres parte del plan. El mundo está gobernado por personas diferentes a las que tú te imaginas. Y te mantienen a ti en la misma rutina. Como un plan de marxismo y comunismo para que nunca puedas salir del abismo. Y ponerte en grupos de algorithms categorizándote like a pack of labels. Infiltrando nuestros hogares con la educación que le dan a nuestros hijos en las instituciones escolares como un ganado de animales. It's like having little spies in your home. Y agendas autocráticas se apoderan del classroom. Cuando haya suficiente gente ignorante en todas las naciones del mundo, será más fácil conquistar el mundo, contando cada segundo bien profundo, directo al punto.
Ellos controlan el mundo from the shadows.
¿Tú crees que a ellos le importa tu progreso, el bienestar y tu salud? Préstale un poco más de atención a los ingredientes de los alimentos que te comes tú. Bad news, we gotta change the attitude. Longitud, latitude, razonamiento, finding the truth. Sabes que cuando busques la verdad te van a juzgar y van a tirar tu reputación por el suelo y crearán narrativas que causarán tu entierro.
Nadie es tan estúpido para no ver lo que está escrito en la pared. Con tan solo ver los comportamientos en el mundo entero.
It's the octopus,
8 pies, manejándonos todos from the shadows, alimentando el mundo de su veneno. Crisis, depresión, económicamente todas las nubes. No permiten que tu pensamiento crítico madure. Buscan que la gente se mantenga estúpida y no haga muchas preguntas.
Que raten el currículum que se nos obliga. A lot of suffering, bodies and corpses. Deep dive in the influences, enormous. Octopus tentacles spreading all over. Lies and more lies, wearing the mask like the Joker. En algún punto de nuestras vidas tenemos que hacernos la pregunta: ¿cuál es el plan de avance de nuestra sociedad? And who's driving? It is clear that we're not moving forward. The more we change, the more we stay the same. Game over. The people is choosing sides like a sport game. We all should be on the same page for the things that are bad for the well-being. Manipulados a aceptar cualquier idea que le pongan enfrente. Forma de gobernar sin tener mucho que decir. Dale entretenimiento para que la mente no piense. Estrategia que siempre funciona porque no pueden resistir a los malos hábitos ya implantados en el neocórtex. No dejes que te forcen. The mind should be a fortress. Ellos quieren un solo gobierno para el mundo entero y así cumplir la antigua promesa de un orden mundial. La excusa es que para lograr las aspiraciones universales se necesitan las uniones de las naciones. Pero todo aquí sabemos que esas no son las intenciones. No están convirtiendo el plomo en oro. The new dawn, where the sun will never set. Golden Age, Prometeo Zeus le robó fuego a los dioses para dárselo a los humanos. You can see the trails of the holders of the light. Basically the same secret ruling power, taking different forms, different shapes. They don't sleep, they don't rest, never take a break. Usan la palabra teoría y conspiraciones para desacreditar a los que buscan la verdad, usando palabras sin entenderlas que ya pasaron por filtro por un propósito. Técnica llamada doble sentido, double speak. 5 amigos, 5 círculos mundiales. Olympus, olímpico, let the games begin. Prende la antorcha, light up the fire to the empire. From the Sierra Everest to Himalaya. Muchos me preguntan cómo tengo tanta información, y es que no le dan uso al don de la observación. Es como que alguien te esté dando una galleta en la cara todos los días y no te des cuenta quién te la dio por poca atención.
El mundo sigue en opresión, conflictos creados por dinero. Préstale un poco de atención, como Octopus dominando el mundo entero.
Time to go deep in the swamp, the lagoon. 1948, la ley Smith-Munduno, promulgada por legislaciones. Pero ¿por qué aceptar leyes que promueven propaganda a las naciones? Tienen en la cabeza una funda, yo te quito la funda con verdades bien profundas. Sé que muchos se romperán como vidrios en el pavement al enterarse que sus líderes le mienten. Revolucionarios enmascarados en la promesa de Prometheus. El control de los periódicos y las noticias entran en la era industrial cuando una enorme cantidad de dinero entra al mercado. El pulpo viene estrechando sus brazos desde hace tiempo en todos lados.
A lot of suffering, bodies and corpses. Deep dive into influences enormous. Octopus tentacles spreading all over.
Lies and more lies, wearing the mask like the Joker.
A lot of suffering, bodies and corpses. Deep dive into influences enormous. Octopus tentacles spreading all over.
Octopus, octopus spreading all over. La iluminación es la profunda honestidad del desconocimiento. Ser honesto de que no lo sabemos todo, para que no paremos igual que el loro, repitiéndolo todo. Establecer una línea de lo que es consciente y no es consciente. Welcome to the spectrum de la mente. Un enigma persistente que dominan las imágenes que forman los hábitos de la gente.
Tú eres y serás lo que piensas. Si te ves atado, solo cambia tu conciencia. Rompe las cadenas mentales, libera tu esencia, hasta que descubras tu propia trascendencia.
Nosotros no vemos las cosas como son, sino como nosotros somos. El eco de nuestro comportamiento es nuestro entorno. Debemos entender aunque no podamos ver, porque tú controlas tus acciones. Oh, cause and effect. How hard can it get? Levanta los pies. Todos me preguntan, pero no soy yo el que sabe. Muchos escuchan voces, pero it's all in their heads. ¿Por qué será que estamos infectados de la mala fe? Caminando al frente en dirección al revés. No tienes ojos en la espalda, como puedes ver. Te has metido en your own mess. ¿Tú no me crees? Siempre has tenido la solución sin antidepress.
Tu mente está atrapada en la oscuridad, dependiendo de los sentidos para poder actuar. No son muy fáciles los hábitos de dominar.
No es imposible, pero de ti depende el despertar. La conciencia no se define, seguiremos aprendiendo eternamente, para siempre. La conciencia no se define, seguiremos aprendiendo eternamente, para siempre. Nos dicen que tenemos 8 niveles, pero la conciencia llega más allá de los 8 niveles. Solo que en nuestro reino, para entender lo que no se ve, tienes que tener el físico. No hay que ser científico, cuando comienzas a investigar te conviertes en místico. La comunidad científica no acepta el concepto de David Hawkins, pero podemos sentir la energía de nuestros alrededores. Llegamos al mundo a prueba de dolores, y en la despedida nos regalan flores. My condolence.
Vergüenza, culpa, apatía, tristeza, miedo, deseo, ira, orgullo,
valentía, neutralidad, voluntad, aceptación, razón, amor, alegría, paz, iluminación.
In the universe, is you in the verse. Who
came first. It's not a curse. You became flesh. No one can rest.
¿Qué tú te crees? Todo el mundo coge el test. Esto es un juego de chess.
Todo comienza a hacer sentido. ¿Cómo me puedo mover al frente si mi mente no vive en el presente? Stuck in the past, deprimido constantemente. Lo que es imposible hoy, mañana será un recuerdo latente. Evidente, superado, persistente. Suficiente para cambiar los pensamientos de la mente, dejando atrás nuestros antecedentes. Cada respuesta abre una puerta más, de laberintos que no tienen final. Pensamientos que caminos construirán. Eternamente aprenderemos más.
La conciencia no se define. Seguiremos aprendiendo eternamente. Para siempre. La conciencia no se define. Seguiremos aprendiendo eternamente. Para siempre.
En el libro del tiempo nuestra historia se escribe. La lucha contra la luz y la oscuridad, cenizas reviven. Cada conocimiento, cada lección pasa a los que siguen, déjalo que se inspiren. Todo queda grabado en el ether. Voy flotando en el universo como una pluma ligera. Todo esparce y fluye como el viento en la espera. Sin banderas, sin fronteras, vamos subiendo la escalera, echándole leña a la candela. Lluvias de bendiciones en umbrella. You've been scanned for many, many, many centuries. Tiempo de despertar la mente, let's be free. Aunque hilos invisibles never let us see. Tus creencias, emociones dependen de ti. You are the beekeeper. Gotta dig deeper. Energy seeker. Invincible. Victor. Ni abajo ni en el centro, siempre en alto. En la cima. Drifter. Se nota. Subiendo nota. Tu negatividad de mi escudo rebota. Tú andas siempre moca. El mundo material te desenfoca. Ken Wilber habla de esas cosas. Táctica, comando, frecuencias y ondas. Atacan el subconsciente, ready to combat. Influencias que te llevan a la derrota, desviándote de lo que realmente importa. They have no idea of the awakening of the beast dentro de mí, dándole al mundo the best of me. Yeah, this is the big league, battling the machinery. No time for us to show weakness, it's a disease. Viajo a través del pensamiento, en la calma y en la tormenta. Soy la luz que brilla en la oscuridad. Los humanos me nombraron la conciencia.
La conciencia no se define. Seguiremos aprendiendo eternamente. Para siempre. La conciencia no se define. Seguiremos aprendiendo eternamente. Para siempre. La conciencia no se define. Seguiremos aprendiendo eternamente. Para siempre. La conciencia no se define. Seguiremos aprendiendo eternamente. Para siempre. La conciencia no se define. Seguiremos aprendiendo eternamente. Para siempre.
El mago de Oz, la historia de nosotros, explicándonos básicamente cómo estamos perdidos. La guerra mundial número 2 en la etapa de la Gran Depresión. Como una historia tan simple puede tener tanta información en una sola composición. Una pieza de teatro familiar rodeada de símbolos religiosos y políticos, matando a la gente con químicos para mucho tiempo apocalípticos, con muchos códigos bíblicos. Escucha, ahora te explico, solo pon los oídos. Todos conocen a Dorothy, en un tiempo malo, The Economy. ¿No te has fijado que siempre aparece un héroe en tiempos de misery? It's a good time to tell the tale, protect the well, spread the spell. Dorothy al revés tiene el nombre de Teodora. Oh yeah. Puerta de Dios o regalo de Dios, Dios door. La mente inocente no puede pensar cuando está defensora. Ahí te dejo una referencia de donde nace Dora la exploradora. Uno nunca sabe dónde vaya a caer, it's like flipping a quarter. Pero el alma devora, como el pueblo de Agora. Donde Hypatia pudo descubrir porque el planeta se mueve como una mecedora. El mago de Oz es la distribución de ounce, o sea, de amounts of money. En términos de politics, mezclado con psychology. Ellos no dan apologies, la máquina corre like magic. Aquí solo mueren los frágiles, la foto grande es para hábiles. Nadie sabe que la dimensión del dólar es la misma de la carpeta mágica porque te lleva donde quiera. Es increíble que nadie le llega. No me voy a salir del tópico, pero es importante que sepas. Dorothy, 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 por el camino de oro, just follow me. Mira cómo ellos joden the economy. Yeah, we got the remedy. La era de bronce representa depresión y la de oro es un sueño. Es todo, in totality representa todo. La divina expresión de Dios que solo se gana con amor. Scarecrow representa el cerebro de Dorothy y la agricultura en politics. La inteligencia sin sus amigos es nothing. Yes, sir. Jiggle, jiggle, slack. Espantapájaros. The knowledge is useless without power. Ahora se necesita el corazón de Dorothy, el hombre hojalata. Para obtener un corazón tienes que entender el corazón de los demás. Lo que dice el corazón no se puede traducir con palabras. Nope. Empatía, compasión, emoción, tener la habilidad de hacer decisión. Es tan profundo que no hay símbolos ni lenguas que puedan entender su expresión. El hombre hojalata representa la era industrial en el mundo real. Ahora se necesita coraje y enfrentarse a lo que con los ojos no se ve. Es donde Dorothy busca energía a través del león valentía. Sé que tú no lo sabías, ahora tienes una guía. El número 3 aparece en todos los lados que la historia se repita. Llegale. Todos juegan el mismo palé. Las verdades siguen siendo verdades aunque las dividan con un sable. Yo les daré la contraseña para el que observe la guardia. El mago de Oz no es Dios, es el hombre detrás del telón. La decepción en aprender que tú eres favorito es una ficción. Fue necesario que te fallaran para que aprendas que tú tienes control. No necesitas depender de nadie, el gobierno vende la ilusión. Ellos no necesitan introducción, tú sabes quiénes son, los reyes de la manipulación. Tócale la puerta a la casa del don, ding dong. Es increíble ver cómo una historia cubre 3 factores: política, religión y ciencia en tiempos de depresión. Ya puedes entender por qué una pieza de arte tuvo tanto éxito, disfrazando la verdad con entretenimiento para mantenerlos durmiendo. Solo entenderán los despiertos, como agua en el desierto. Es increíble ver cómo el alcohol ha sobrevivido todos los tiempos. Nadie puede hacer decisiones bajo su efecto. Protegiendo los intereses del gobierno, la bruja es parte del ego. Mago de Oz, yeah, controlling the ounce. Dorothy Toro, el espantapájaro, el hombre hojalata y el león. En este experimento social hemos aprendido cómo un grupo de personas ignorantes puede ser manipulada sin que ellos se den cuenta. Los colores, las bebidas alcohólicas, el entretenimiento, todo es parte del juego. ¿Por qué será que hemos olvidado? Siento que estamos desconectados. Descubrí por qué ya no hay unión. Ya nadie sabe usar su función. Una antena sin tierra no funciona. Lo mismo pasa cuando tú oras y tus pies no tocan el suelo. Nunca vas a recibir bendición. ¿No has notado que los monjes ponen los pies en la tierra antes de entrar en una meditación profunda? Si te fijas, ellos tenían este conocimiento hace mucho tiempo, pero la gente regular no conocía su efecto. Podemos ir a Israel y ver el mismo ejemplo. ¿No has entrado a Jerusalén allá en su templo? Usaban sandalias hechas de cuero y en el 1832 no desconectamos por completo, impidiendo la conexión natural del cuerpo. Con la goma los neutrones no entran en tu cuerpo. El avance es bueno, pero ¿cuál es el sacrificio de la sociedad cuando inventamos algo nuevo? Has traicionado tu habilidad por calidad y todavía la gente se pregunta por qué hay tanta enfermedad. Fíjate cómo los animales viven en armonía. Estos son observaciones, el que sabe de esto se guía. Cuando oras debes poner los pies en la tierra para que cuando envíes la señal se sienta. Nadie sabe lo importante que es la conexión del ser. Para tu entender debes tener sed de aprender. Las cosas importantes no se pueden ver, ya que a muchos se les fue la fe. Usamos la frase de mantener los pies sobre la tierra, pero son muy pocos los que quieren entenderla. ¿Por qué será que hemos olvidado? Siento que estamos desconectados. Descubrí por qué funciona. Lo mismo pasa cuando tú oras y tus pies no tocan el suelo. Nunca vas a recibir bendición. Tienes una glándula pineal, la parte más importante, la antena principal, la cual pone en alerta el cuerpo y sabe detectar. La combinas con la tierra y es la que manda la señal. La planta celestial en conexión al infinito. ¿Dudas de su conexión? A un reto yo te invito. Son tantas las cosas que tus ojos no pueden ver. Por esa razón es que le das uso a tus instintos. Cuando alguien está detrás de ti sientes su presencia, o cuando alguien está observándote en su ausencia. Lo usas inocentemente sin ninguna referencia. Es como usar el teléfono y nunca cuestionar su ciencia. Quiero que lleguemos a la etapa
souls turned to ashes. It made me who I am today. I escaped from the latches of the shadows chasing me down. I'm not gonna run, I am standing my ground. Wherever I go, fear does not follow. Even when the storm hits and hell is around.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for our final series of the week. And I think in a lot of people's minds, we saved the best until last. Both of our MSI representatives, one of them being the MSI champions, as we crowned yesterday a couple of days ago with their walkout. Absolutely amazing stuff. Genji back again, this time up against T1, a battle of the ages, a rematch of our last final, all of those things. See who's going to be able to come out on top.
It's a lot of great things. It's hard for me to follow up after that one, but you're right. This match is something that it feels like it really doesn't feel like a split has started until we've had our Genji versus T1. This has been true for the last 2 years, and it will be true for the foreseeable future.
And also, what won't be true is them at the top of the standings, right? Like, because we've had times where T1 and Genji haven't faced each other until very late in the round robin, and we're like, oh, who's going to win? They're both sitting at the very top, right? Who is going to be the one that's going to be toppled first? Well, we're going to be able to find that one out very, very early, and then it will be round 2 to see who's done the adaptation to come out atop this second time. But the iconic rivals, I don't think, could ever really be disputed. So many finals, so many matchups between these two squads. Makes a whole lot of sense.
As we can see here, T1 unfortunately on an 8-match losing streak against Genji. They notably, at MSI, weren't able to meet one another due to how the double elimination bracket played out. Domestically, Genji has just been getting the better end of them for so long now.
Yeah.
I think 2023 spring, I think, came as a big surprise with Pace in the Light just coming in. But 2024 just has been more of the same.
Yeah, and what hasn't been the same has been Faker versus Chovy, because at the very beginning, Faker was getting the better of him over and over again. Even though Chovy did have such an incredible breakout season all those years ago, wasn't ever able to really take down the GOAT when push came to shove. More recently, though, as we saw in our previous slide, it's been a lot easier for the guy. So we'll see whether Faker can get some revenge over the last few meetups between these two squads, or whether it's going to be old Chovy all over again And this is actually going to be the lane that I'm going to be focusing on a lot because Lahens and Pays have looked really good.
It looked incredible so far.
Yes, let's have a listen to the players though.
이 정도로 치열한 결승전은 없었던 걸로 기억을 해서 그래서 좀 되게 재밌었던 것 같아요.
충분히 이길 수 있을 거라는 자신감이 있었는데 패배를 해서 조금 결과가 아쉽긴 했지만 다음에 만나면 또 저희가 이길 수 있다고 생각하고 있습니다.
이렇게 개막 주차? 그럴 때 T1이랑 진짜 많이 한 것 같거든요. 옛날부터.
초비 선수랑 또 이렇게 계속해서 만날 수 있다는 게 또 되게 잘하는 경쟁자가 있다는 게 즐거운 일인 것 같아서
이번에 전설의 전당에 혼액되신 거 축하드립니다.
초비 선수도 올해 들어서도 되게 많이 성장하고 좋은 모습을 많이 보여주고 있는데 저도 이제 계속해서 좀 발전할 일이 많이 남았다고 생각해서 앞으로도 좋은 경기 했으면 좋겠습니다.
제가 최근에도 우승했지만 제가 여태까지 이루었던 것들보다 앞으로 이루고 싶은 게 더 많기 때문에 계속 좋은 모습 보여드리도록 하겠습니다.
젠지한테 이긴 지가 너무 오래돼가지고 첫 매치를 이겨야 좀 썸머 시즌 때 젠지를 이기고 우승할 수 있지 않을까.
이번 기회를 저는 좀 되게 중요하게 생각하고 또 각오도 남달라서 열심히 잘 준비해보도록 하겠습니다.
어차피 나중 가면 또 높은 곳에서 만날 텐데 재밌게 한번 해봅시다.
Welcome, Genji. They're going to be walking out first, as they will be our home team this time around. They got side selection, and they'll be making their way out. We'll see whether they are going to be able to put T1 in their place, because I think it's very interesting. Given the fact that we have had Genji versus T1 early on in the season many times before, one of the other times that it happened was 2023, and it was the summer season. And it actually put T1 on this trajectory that allowed them to begin overcoming some of these hurdles right after MSI was so disappointing for them. So this could be a bit of a harkening back to that. We'll see how Genji are going to be able to handle it this time around.
I just love Chovy with a wry smile saying, yeah, it's kind of like it'll be fun, but we're gonna face off late in playoffs anyway. So like, let's just enjoy ourselves, shall we?
Yeah.
We'll have some fun picks. Who am I kidding? It's gonna be Talia versus Tristan.
Yeah, you said have some fun picks after Faker plays 2 games of Azir and Chovy plays 2 games of Corki. Yeah, sure, mate. Yeah.
Haha. Yeah.
Well, Faker actually performing extraordinarily well in their first match of the season. It was up against Nongshim Red Force, but that has been one that has stumped them in the past. Getting the 2-0 kind of important, even up against the Noodle Boys. But T1 so showing some shakiness, perhaps, but still W's a W, and we'll see whether they're going to be able to put Genji through their paces as well.
There are 2 big questions after MSI coming in. What will be the form of Faker individually, and how will this summer meta fit T1? Those were the 2 issues. Both Zeus and Gumayush and Keria, the team as a whole, but I think they rely so much on those 2 side lanes being as strong as they are, weren't able to utilize that at MSI, and then Faker also had domestically one of his best splits.
Yeah.
And unfortunately at MSI, individually one of his worst tournaments in recent memory. But this bot lane is what we're going to be looking towards. Pays and Lahens had a redemption arc at MSI. They were so much better than we were expecting. And obviously, the stats at this point, we don't have a lot of games to go off of.
Yeah, and these stats are also skewed for so many reasons. There's a Senna situation happening on the Gumayushi side, that KDA, absolutely disgusting. This 10th for the damage percent is so unfair for Pays. Did you see what Canyon did in that? He did like 44k damage. He has done 30% of his team's damage, and one of his games was on Sejuani.
Atlas, I'm taking your role, but 10th, washed.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Straight up. Well,
yeah,
do you know what Gumayushi's number was? 11th. So I mean, it's doomed. It's doomed for both of these teams.
We joke. These are our expected two best bot lanes. Viper and the Light obviously still there, but some certain Vayne picks today made me a little bit more worried about keeping them in the conversation.
Just keep the cow in your mind and things like that, you know? Like the Zeri and the cow, that was great.
That was great.
We'll keep remembering that one. We'll try to forget the other things that were happening.
Additionally, the jungle matchup and the jungle meta is what is going to be one of my big things. For Canyon, we have already seen, both internationally and domestically, that Canyon and carry junglers is pretty good. Has been at large parts for his career the greatest carry jungler that we have, at the very least in the LCK, arguably, and at many points also worldwide. For Owner, it's not that he can't play it, right? I know mechanically this is a player that can execute things like the Nidalee, but it doesn't really change how T1 plays. We'll see today.
Yeah.
If T1 is going to be able to deal with all these questions. I saw a cannon there though. That being back in the meta, and it's not high priority.
Is it?
Well, I think I've seen it pop up in other situations as well. I don't think it's just Zeus saying, I'm playing.
There was that one other time. There was that one other time.
And I'm Zeus, so I want to play Cannon. I do think it's been slowly cropping up. We'll see what happens here as it's Gen G2 one day. It's
just always good. And I'm very interested in how this draft is going to go, because I'm glad that you brought up the jungle. I think that Rel being removed from the jungle pool hurt Owner a little bit more than it hurt Canyon. And I also think that the reintroduction of a lot of these AP carry junglers only benefits Canyon, because he is very good at flexing his muscles on a lot of those picks. So we'll see what Owner has in store for us in that particular matchup. But honestly, you could just talk about any lane. Like the jungle matchup, any lane, fun. It's absolutely fine. It's all just bangers here. And we'll see whether T1 can come out swinging in this first match against Gen G like they did last year in summer. Or whether it's Gen G just going from strength to strength, because they did not look like they'd stopped moving forward in their first matchup earlier in the week. So already Ashe and Azir taken away by Gen G. Faker going to have to play a different champion moving into this one. Oh my goodness, is it going to be the same bands that we saw at MSI? That would be really funny. As Kalista going to be the final one, so no.
My main question is, what is going to be the lead priority? Because with the Skarner being, or with the Rumble rather being banned away, the priority of Skarner should in theory go up, but I think that Keen is very happy to play Cassante into it and not be too bothered. Gen G have shown already that they are really happy to rely on that. This would be, I think, making a lot of sense in the light of what we've seen thus far. Skarner looks insanely busted at the moment.
Yep.
But it does also mean that there's a chance that Nidalee might not go over towards Canyon, might be picked up by T1 instead. And I've been a known, Nidalee
anti.
I wouldn't go that far.
I'd probably go.
I think the pick is insanely strong, but I also think that there's not a lot of players that can play it well. Unfortunately for T1, one of them is on the opposing end, and especially picks like Sejuani can really struggle in that 1v1. Will give Owner a lot of initiation and a lot of power in early skirmishes though, especially as I expect that we'll see at least some melee as well towards the top side of the map.
Yeah, is it going to be Cassante locked in second just to get it early? As that's a Zoe hover. That would be an interesting one. Certainly one of, I remember Faker being very outspoken, saying that he was the best Zoe in the LCK a few seasons ago. But we're just hovering through some fun things. There's a bit of archery to be done by Gumayushi. Definitely the champion that I probably associate him with the most.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Most likely going to be the lethality variety as well.
Yep, we're really surprised that Nidalee was locked in here by Canyon. Super surprised. And yeah, okay, wow. Well, you probably could have told us exactly what they were going to pick.
I feel
in
like
order. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel
after
like
the bans.
So far, we are very much on track for Gen G just picking in order. Obviously, you can rotate over this Corki towards the bot lane as well for pace as the Taliyah. And Taliyah, I gotta say, has been weirdly still somewhat underappreciated. I feel like this pick is absolutely insane with how the bot lane meta has evolved, with how the current jungle meta is looking as well, because yes, the AP picks are insanely strong, but particularly after the nerf that came through in 1410, it's not the only thing that you can play. We actually have had a really good mix of like early duelists, like the Lee, and the Xin Zhao, picks like Vi, Maokai, and Sejuani that really feel like setup, and then straight up AP carries like Canyon is playing here. But I want to again reiterate, even when Italy wasn't meta, this was one of the matchups where you'd see her every now and then, because in a straight up like early game 1v1, it's nigh unplayable. So we're going to have to see to which level T1 is going to be able to cover for Owner earlier, and to which extent Canyon is going to look for these early invades. As we do have both Zeri and Nautilus bend away here. Bot lanes, most likely, outside of that Varus, still up in the air here. We'll see what Gen G is going to go towards.
So I'm kind of expecting T1 to look for a top lane here. With the Nautilus ban, it's making you feel like Keria really wants that counter pick for the bottom lane. They don't even necessarily. Yeah, they don't necessarily know where that Corki is going, even though Chovy, like if he plays Corki again, it's the only champion he's played in the entire week so far. As there is the Renata, and like we were talking about, top lane are going to be locked in. Zeus doesn't need to go very far through his favorite champions list to find one that he really wants to lock away, and it's going to be the Twisted Fate into the Skarner this time.
So no melee towards the top half of the map, which is unfortunate for Owner. There is a lot of CC though, and I really like any form of point-and-click lockdown when you have a Taliyah. So that way it does make a lot of sense. I was actually wondering whether Zeus wanted to go back to the Aatrox. Obviously he's had some incredible Aatrox performances, and we saw it come back. King played it into the Skarner, made it look quite good, and it goes well.
Yeah.
With Sejuani. As Paze, what is it gonna be? Paze obviously has some champions that he is most known for. Kaisa is open if you want to go in that direction. You can go towards the Xayah.
Oh, the Ezreal. Okay. Are we a patch early for this one?
We definitely are, because Ezreal in the next patch is pretty hilarious in the amount of impact that he has. But still my favorite pace game I've ever seen was him on Ezreal back in Challenger, summer 2022. I gotta say, I really trust Paze to pilot Ezreal well, but I don't know how good you're going to be feeling playing into, I think particular TF really makes it so hard. Point and click CC is kind of his bane. Things like Sejuani, like Taliyah, I think you can kind of play around, but the stun lock that's available here for T1, again, particularly with the Taliyah, is going to be really hard to deal with. On the flip side for Gen G, Canyon, if you look at his two side lanes, obviously top is good when it comes to the lockdown that you need with the Nidalee, but that Corki Nidalee combo is, I think, very similar to the Tristana and Corki. Like, it's good when it's winning, because you have prio in mid, and then you can invade, you can make plays from there. But if you ever start falling behind, it'll get very dicey very quickly.
Yeah, it certainly does. I think that you evaluate Nidalee compositions very differently when it's Canyon.
Oh, you should, yeah.
Because Nidalee is not about lane setup when it's Canyon. It's about trying to get Canyon out of the enemy jungle and actually help his other lanes, because he does not do that. What he does is he heads over towards where Owner wants to be farming things, and he says, no, this isn't yours. This is what I take away. And it's about more denial of enemy resources rather than necessarily getting that set up, which is why we're not just yelling about Corki Nidalee, which works horrendously poorly together. It's more just about empowering Canyon.
It's going to be Poke versus T1 with a lot more fighting power here, Atlas.
We'll see how it goes. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. The El Clasico, game number 1. Let's jump onto the Rift. Well, I would say that even though we are technically on the T1 side of LoL Park, I think they were a little louder.
We are adjusting, you know, for that. We've learned, Atlas.
I calibrated, and I still was getting caught up, you know, many years afterwards.
Okay, a few things I want to highlight.
Please.
So we have Gumayushi going for PTA, which I do think it means that he might go for the on-hit variety, which he is playing into 2 tanks. So I think from that point of view, it does make sense. Does mean that the effective range of T1's kind of goes down by a little bit, which can be annoying because we talked about Corki Nidalee. There's also Ezreal, so the amount of poke that Gen G are going to have is kind of insane. Canyon has also shifted away from his most used route. Generally, he goes Conqueror on the Nidalee and gone for First Strike instead. So First Strike on this patch obviously still generates a somewhat unreasonable amount of money. And back in the previous season, in case you missed it, First Strike was mostly a rune that skilled really well, right? So the more damage you did, you could get insane amounts of gold from it. Now it's a bit more the curve is flattened. So earlier on, it's a lot stronger, which is why it's getting nerfed next patch, because it generates just a little bit too much gold. We'll see how he's able to utilize it here. Does tell me that he's going to be looking to get up in T1's face right from the get-go.
Yeah, feels like it's a little bit more aimed towards fighting. So let's see whether that is what he's going to do. So far, started on his blue side, hasn't actually headed over towards Owner's jungle just yet. So we saw some biffo between both Chovy and Faker here in this mid lane. Faker going to throw some rocks at Earth with Guy on top. And will be just fine. Has already drank a potion though. And Chovy has not drank. Really nice. Really honest, that's a word that you decided to say?
It's actually very close to the Dutch drinken, which is...
Oh, there we go! That's what I was doing! I was just practicing my Dutch! Oh, I didn't even know that I was practicing my Dutch.
If you say someone has drank a potion, you would say gedronken.
Ah, there we go!
So I think you're actually pretty close.
It does sound a bit drunken as well, I like it.
As Kenyon's win rate on Italy, to the surprise of absolutely no one, is very high.
Yeah, he's pretty good at that one.
I'm pretty sure that his career win rate is actually higher because he played it, you know, when they won Worlds 2020 all the time, which really cranked up those numbers.
I could imagine that it is probably a bit higher when we do leave just the LCK. Especially with, yeah, the fact that the Nidalee meta was exactly then and not for some of the more disappointing times.
Oh yeah, Nidalee Graves every game for our junglers in 2020. It was
there
a good
we
time.
go.
It was fun.
We're not going to include the Morgana Rumble stats.
No.
That's all I'm saying.
No, let's not.
As Owner is going to head over and try and take this Rift Scuttler. We'll be able to do so as Canyon just goes for a fadeaway. There's some money. Probably not as much as taking the Rift Scuttler, but he's going to be able to head down towards the bottom side, grab one himself, and no harm, no foul. However, Owner being able to trade evenly on that front is certainly good news as Lehens goes in, looks for Carrier as Pays and Gumushi fighting, and Guma's going to say that that one is absolutely fine. The flash forward, almost, but there it is for Carrier. Oh my goodness, Lehens being able to pick it up with the Ignite, and Carrier flashing away. A 2v2 kill in the first 4 minutes. I was not ready.
We really went the entirety of spring going like, man, Genji is such a good team, but you know, that Pays on Lehens bot lane. they're a bit of a worry sometimes. And we lock in Ezreal and we win the early 2v2.
And it was looking so good for Gumushi as well. Wins that trade, and then Lehens is like, oh, we win these.
No, that was 100% Lehens. Because if you look here, the early, so you have Carrier and Lehens fighting, and then Guma and Pays. But Pays actually doesn't hit either his W or his Mystic Shot. Guma just keeps on walking. So Guma gets full Blight stacks, gets the Q off, and everything feels great. But then here, Lehens, beautifully done. Guma is just a split second late. Gets caught off guard a little bit there, which means that he doesn't actually get to deny the W from Pays, right? The flash comes through after it's already hit, so the burst is there. This is one of those things. Leona and Ezreal lanes, I think, are so deceptively bursty. You most likely haven't played against this in a long amount of time.
It was actually a bit of an oldie, bit of goodie. Ezreal Leona from back in the day, so they have to do a bit of recalibrating.
Big win here.
Yeah. T1 going to move on over and grab themselves a dragon. Canyon a little bit distracted by a raptor camp. You can see that there is Scuttle Vision. Not going to work out as Canyon is going to miss the spear because Arctic Assault does get Owner out of the area. Like you were talking about, certainly good news for T1 being able to sneak that one away. As the Cougar only ahead by 1 in the jungle.
Well, Canyon might be looking to find owners on his raptors who are actually skipping his own Krugs. Because again, he wants to fight, has first strike already. Spot Owner here that might instead just end up going for the Krugs as they are up, and he has Prio in mid and top lane. But yeah, I gotta say, one of the big things that you try to do against the Nidalee, right, is not get outpaced too much, which the Owner has been able to, and just make sure she doesn't get every single objective. So big win for T1 to get that early dragon. On the flip side, we haven't talked about mid lane yet, and Faker will be catching this wave, so it's not as dire as it looks right there, but it is also still not great, all things considered. As Chovy has picked up early Mercs, which against the top side of T1 is going to have a, frankly, unreasonable amount of value.
Not too bad at all. Not going to give him a whole lot of firepower, but as we can see by those CS numbers, he is not too worried about that one at this point in time. As first, Pays was playing respectfully, and now it is Gumiushi having to play respectfully as his support making his way back down as well. CS going a little bit in favor of Guma actually as he makes his way back to lane, so it just shows that the neutral is something that the Varus is still very happy with. But First Blood going over to Lehens, still going to feel fantastic for Genji. Going to make this Leona a lot more tanky moving towards the mid game, which feels good. Could have been way worse though for T1 if Pays had have picked that one up. Feels like a lot of items just feel really good for Ezreal to pick up early. Wasn't able to go back and grab a Sheen, for example, straight out of the gate. That feels good.
See how Lehens is going to use his gold as well. Picked up his early Mercs. Ton of value for that here in this draft that T1 has found.
Yeah, I think Merc Treads might be picked up by almost everyone. Maybe
yeah.
just picks up Merc Treads. Why not? You probably want Lucidity, but I wouldn't argue against it.
I get it.
Yeah.
Canyon also is obviously going to go Storks, but outside of that, wouldn't be surprised if everyone ends up picking them up because there's so much non-knockup CC for T1. And right now, as mentioned, early grubs are going to go the way of Genji. I think denying grubs is also important against TF specifically. Zeus is just living his best life, his owner, paying a visit towards the top side.
Yeah, making his way in. Zeus is already ghosted as Kane was trying to get out of there. It doesn't quite work. Walks back, picks up a rock, but he's just dead. That is going to be the Glacial Prison. Owner going to place him right into it, and that is going to even out the kill score on the top side of the map. T1 on the board.
Nice getting there by Owner. Just shows up. There is a lot of CC available here as a Keen, as we say that. Picks up his Mercs. Probably was hoping that he had them beforehand.
Oh, Solar Flare coming in. Gumiushi going to immediately put that cleanse back on cooldown as True Shot Barrage not going to hit the mark. Spear does, and that did a lot of damage to Gumiushi as we could see, so Canyon picking up some extra money there.
Yeah, I like Canyon still finishing his back here because everyone on T1 is going to be ready for this play to come through. Even before they spotted Canyon on the board, realistically, you know, if your jungler makes a play towards the top side, Genji are going to be looking to answer on the other end of the map. Not going to be the case here.
Yeah. Rocks being hurled around. Of course, you've got Faker throwing them and Keen throwing them. We're going to have a look at Keen's attempt to do so here towards the top side that ultimately worked out pretty poorly.
There's not a whole lot he can do. Owner interrupts his E with his Q, and then the amount of CC this early on is kind of crazy. You don't really have the tankiness necessary just yet. So we'll see. Genji, get towards the top side of the map, is going to have to pay the price. Then on the flip side, Keen is a Skarner, so like him dying once in the grand scheme of things isn't going to be too relevant. Is a big window for Zeus as he will use his ultimate here to just get himself towards the bot side of the map as soon as possible, making sure that he can catch the wave and maybe roam afterwards. We'll see. He's moving into the river, at least to, I think maybe wanted to secure some vision. Not going to do so just yet. He's also sitting on a coal. There's not something we see too often on the TF, but he did pick it up early here.
Wow, getting even more free money.
No.
That's, it feels a little bit unfair. Passive as well as a call. Crazy. Anyway, Lehens making his way in towards his bottom side, and there is a ward in this brush as well. There's the flash forward. Stuns go by as Solar Flare will connect. And Zeus absolutely nowhere to go after the flash, and that is a kill going over to Pays this time around.
I imagine the read from T1 there was that Genji wanted to play heavily for the topside grubs.
Yeah, everyone. Lehens was already on the road because it's Lehens, exactly. Right? He would oftentimes already be top lane at this stage.
So Lehens catching Zeus off guard there. I think the flash being invested as well is really, really rough. Lehens again being an early instigator, and the craziest thing is he's not even X-flashing. He's just straight up flashing.
That is unheard of.
I know.
It's a huge investment. Not taking his favorite summoner spell. So we're going to check it out one more time. I do like Lehens flashing for the Shield of Daybreak just to make sure that he wasn't going to be messed around with.
It's the only way that you guarantee that you can land the full CC chain. Because as soon as TF is CC, particularly because Zeus doesn't have Mercs, you're going to be fine from that point onward. But if you try to E and E flashes it, then that's just the end of your play. So well done to guarantee that Pays gets some early gold. And so Zeus doesn't have flash, he's playing into Skarner. So I know that it looks like he's playing safe, but I honestly don't even know if this is enough.
Is this safe enough?
But
Keen
We're about to find out.
has his flash up and available. Ona is in the area, but you can see Jonas Strong is messing with us, keeping us in the dark, quite literally, as Lehens pokes his head out. This is what we were trying to hide. And Chovy, potential roams towards that top side. Gumayusi also, with some spare time, will be able to take a plate here, at least, on the bottom side. Certainly good news for him. Trinity Force done for Pace. Like, it's done. It's finished.
Yeah, just gets it off of that kill. Nice little win there for T1. End up getting a teleport out as well as a plate for Guma, but we are starting to see them fall a little bit further behind. And this is with a TF as well, right? This is with an actual passive. A large part of that is just the relentless pushing that has been happening, right?
What gives you more gold, do you reckon? TF's passive or Chovy?
Chovy. Yeah,
I think so too.
So not only Chovy, so Chovy's picked up a plate, but the bot side again, thanks to the great plays that we've seen out of Lehens, most notably Pace following up nicely. Free blades towards the bottom of the map, played now towards top here as well, as there is a lot of pushing powers. Oh, they might look for a play here.
Yeah, Carrier going to face check this one. It is going to be the E landing, but too much more. And Carrier gonna have to back away, so True Shot Barrage to soften up the wave. And with Carrier at half health, it is much more difficult for them to fight.
This is where the Nidalee comes into play, because Canyon doesn't actually have to... They can play. If they want to try and play towards Gumi, they can, but just Carrier being half health is a big win in and of itself. They do invest the ultimate, but because there's no objective on the map right now, I don't think that Lehens not having his Solar Flare is going to be the biggest deal. And as mentioned, yeah, it's we're 13 minutes in, and Chovy is about 150 CS.
That's why I was referencing it. Just doesn't really, it still doesn't make sense. We've been commentating this guy for a really long time, and he just finds the minions.
It's really simple. He just doesn't miss any. It's not complicated.
And then goes top and takes those ones as well.
It just doesn't help you.
Well, we're gonna have a look at the gold board here between Faker and Chovy. Yeah, it's not going too bad.
But there you do see that a large part of that gold lead, although some of it is from the minions, the remainder is just the turret damage that has already been done. Right? The plates that have come through have now dropped. Herald is up, and I expect there to see the first real action. We've seen some ganks, we've seen some 2v2, but maybe a 4v4 or more people part of this.
In these early fights, who do we think has the advantage? Because I'm looking at Twisted Fate for the ability to use Destiny to fight on your terms, things like that. Carrier can have a big impact. Gen.G also have a lot of item spikes and a lot of power this stage of the game as well.
It's really hard because I think in theory you look at the T1 comp, and if someone is out of position, like you can isolate them so easily. With TF, with Talia, your CC chain is amazing. But because of how the early game is played out, and I think realistically you should also have prio in a lot of these lanes, most notably mid, Gen.G is going to be set up. So T1, they need to try and get in here, but they're taking a lot of poke.
Yeah, there's the Weaver's Wall as Paze is on the other side of it. Carrier goes in, True Shot Barrage is decent, but Gen.G's health bars are going down so incredibly low already. Both of the tanks have been taken out. And Paze, the only one with a decent health bar. Canyon not going to quite be able to make it out there as Chovy will finish him off, and Paze is flashing over the top of the seismic shove. And now it's Gumayusi and Ona that are on the run. Gen.G walk out victorious.
And they get the front line, but the damage dealers for Gen.G look at them and go, hey, these guys don't matter. We're still alive. And Paze and Chovy shred through the remaining health. Where's T1 there? They got the initial victory, but they wanted more, and I think they bit off more than they could chew.
Let's have a look at it one more time here as Gen.G, they had the setup, but the Destiny, the timings, this wall, it all seemed to work for T1, at least in the beginning.
So a lot gets thrown in here, and that's the problem, right? Glacial Prison, ultimate from Guma, ultimate from Carrier. So yes, they take down the front line, but then here, just taking the Herald, I think, would have been a better call. But then again, you look at what Gen.G have. If you try, with those health bars, with all the initiation tools gone, if you try to do Herald and you get poked down, you might befall the same fate. So I understand their willingness to try and push through, but yeah, as I was saying, the game where I got excited about Pace was when he played an Ezreal game. And, you know, there's 100% kill participation. So far, so good.
And the way that he played that last fight as well, aggressive Ezreal. That is what you want to see.
You have to.
So many times we see Ezreal play, professionally or not, where it is just a little bit too passive. You utilize your Arcane Shift to play defensively, utilizing it well, I think, is using it to go forward.
You know he's
speaking
giggling.
of going, oh, never mind, going backwards.
You know he was cackling at
Yeah,
this.
good old Lehens.
What we did see there, though, is how a good fight looks for T1, at least at the beginning.
Yeah.
Find target, hit the knockup, hit the CC chain, and then go from there.
Well, Canyon looking for a bit of a pincer play as the Glacial Prison doesn't find the mark. Weaver's Wall comes down as Chovy gonna get pushed back. A flash from Lehens, but he's got nowhere to go. Solar Flare comes in, he stays alive. It's the Primal Surge that keeps him up. Still, he's out of this fight now. Carrier also very low. True Shot Barrage, not really finding the key targets. Neither does the Seismic Shove, and T1, they cut their losses.
And again looked like the fight that T1 were looking for.
Right?
Lehens is very far forward. Even though Chovy doesn't get hit by the prison, they're still able to get on top of this Leona. But between Lehens getting the early kill, Eclipse and Aftershock, doesn't end up going down. And then Jungle Soraka comes in, keeps him alive. And then, again, T1, I want to reiterate this. The initial blow needs to be a knockout punch, because in the longer trades, like these arrows, not arrows, but the spears rather, and Paze's mystic shots are just going to overwhelm you.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. It's the consistent damage from really long range, to be perfectly honest, is what Gen G are really, really looking for. And I do think that once T1 gets online, they will be able to just delete a priority target, but it has to be a priority target. We saw what happens when it's just Keen and Lehens that go down, because the amount of mobility and damage that comes out of the Ezreal, the Nidalee, and the Corki when most of these cooldowns are down is just so difficult to deal with. Still, it's only a 3,000 gold lead for Gen G at this point in time. At first Drake, the T1 picked up, still very, very good, because Gen G have tried to get a monopoly on it afterwards, but now the Destiny comes in. Chovy gonna just flash over the wall, and he is going to be fine. Canyon looks for an opportunity. Solar Flare comes in as Gumayushi has just dove on top of him. Not quite enough damage to take him down, though. True Shot Barrage is going to be great. Gumayushi will be immediately punished. Shield of Daybreak, Carrier goes down as well, and Gen G will fight back, and Paze is looking for more. They get the vision onto Zeus there, but he's not going to be discovered. That was a blind one from Canyon. Decent little attempt, but it doesn't quite work out, as Keen will be able to lock down Faker here, who was on the wrong side of that turret. And from this point on, man, it's getting real difficult for T1.
Oh, T1!
Oh.
Again! Think they have the angle, and I understand that they have the lockdown, they have the TF. And Chovy gets out with a sliver of health. Right, flashes over the wall. Actually, I think he was like, what, at half health at that point?
Yeah.
And then they go in on Canyon like, okay, this guy we can hit.
Canyon had 50 health at the end there. That was, it was almost a gimme on that one.
Yeah, there's a reason why this guy has a skin on Italy. He knows his limit. So,
that one it was.
Right there, right? Chovy ends up making it out, still relatively healthy. Then here, Canyon. And I understand Guma, like going in, if you take it down, that might be enough for the fight win. And I think you start to see T1 getting a little desperate. They keep running into Genji, and Genji's just outfighting them, right? These low health bars, back to back to back. And for the third time in a row, T1 make the fight to go for a call, and Genji says, we're not knocked out.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself. Which they won't, because they're getting cooked. And now, they're at 6k gold up!
Yeah, no, this is, it's really starting to get out of hand. I was saying before that, you know, 3,000, it's not exactly a completely debilitating gold advantage. Now it's really getting towards that point.
It's a poke comp, Atlas.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is the interesting part, right? Because we saw the Zoe hover, and what this is reminding me of was that meta, right? Where it's like, if you don't kill Zoe Ezreal, then how do you ever do anything after the initial salvo has gone out? And the answer is you kind of don't. Like, they just kite you around and you die. And that's what Pace is kind of demonstrating. Chovy, even with just his Flash Valkyrie in that last fight, T1 thought that they had an angle, didn't quite get there. And I tell you what, if this is a sign of things to come, I'm very happy that we have Ezreal back in the meta, because he's just so fun to watch. Like, Riot got it right at the very beginning when it came to skill expression on champions. Like, Ezreal is kind of it, you know? And he has changed a little bit over the years, but not really. Arcane Shift's always been there. The Mystic Shot has always been there. And yeah, Essence Flux, we haven't quite figured out what we want to do with that, but that's fine.
There have been so many flavors of Ezreal as well. Remember, what was it, Blue Ezreal?
Yeah.
That was a fun one. We had Smite Ezreal for...
Double tier Ezreal?
Oh, yeah.
Which I guess was Blue Ezreal.
No, but there were like, I swear there were like 3 flavors of like different eras of blue Ezreal as well.
He has certainly abused items for a long time, and now it is Zeus' turn. Oh dear, Alcove Gaming not his favorite, as Keen was looking to cut him off in case there was a destiny to try and get home, but he wasn't going anywhere. Ona now in position. They do have some decent vision around this Baron area, but I don't think T1 are going to be able to defend it, unfortunately.
So we're currently on 14-11, and you might be wondering, why is Ezreal picked? So on the next patch, he gets a...
Because he's not strong enough.
He gets a 0.25 increase on AD growth, and a 10% AD increase on his AD ratio for Q. So he's like... He's a lot better on life, and also his ult gets a buff as well. It's just a little bit more damage.
And a lot of the reason why Ezreal's looking fantastic in this game is because, you know, the early 2v2 that was able to be won by Gen G.
This is a very accelerated Ezreal.
Yeah, certainly an accelerated version, but still kind of ridiculous. Ona. And fighting against Lehens and Keen, they don't have a lot of damage, but neither do Keria and Ona. As soon as Gumayusi turns up, they realize that it's on the other side. As we do have Soul Point picked up for Gen G. It is only an Ocean, but it's still going to be important. I mean, this is a Pokemon, so they're probably pretty happy about it.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have Soul yet. True. That's good. Again, I want to reiterate, I like the idea of the come from T1, but I do think that it kind of stood or fell by how the first couple of fights play out. Because Pokems, when they look good, this is how they look, right? Like, once you start getting ahead and you have the map control, if you look at the wards, look how little, like the small quadrant of the top red jungle still belongs to T1. Outside of that, you're perma pushing, you're walking into poke, and they're accelerated in 9s, right? So it's a really unfun experience.
And this is also already a bit of a gamble, right? Because you gave Canyon his Nidalee. Like, T1 didn't do that by accident. They knew that this one was probably coming. They're going to test the waters, see whether they can win against it. I imagine that Nidalee is probably not going to be seen in the next game. But I also imagine that T1 will be on the blue side next time around as well. So, not counting them out in the series, but this game is looking rough as Keria is going to go for a bit of an engage here. Chains of Corruption going to connect as well, but the flash out from Canyon avoids the piercing arrow. We've got a lot of Glacial Prisons, but it's Faker that falls down, and Chovy just stands his ground. Now, Zeus on the other side of the fight, he'll find Paze, who instantly cleanses. Now waiting for that Arcane Shift to get over the wall. Valkyrie is there for Chovy as he closes in, and Canyon, he'll find the spear onto Keria. Nowhere for him to go, and now they're underneath this inner turret, and I do not think they're safe. Keen able to tank forward, Gumayusi to be taken down. The executions, one after the other. And Gen G, I mean, it's only Ona left standing. They'll take this inner turret and maybe more.
Another Hail Mary by T1, but no one is listening to their prayers, Atlas. Again, someone just makes it out alive. Again, a lot of resources are invested for no payoff. And Gen G is going to be bringing us very certainly to a one-game lead here because, again, I understand you need to try and do something, right? They lock down Kenya, but the follow-up isn't there immediately, and because Guma and Keria are relatively far behind, they don't actually do that much damage, then it's Lehens that actually tanks the ultimate here, because that none of the damage gets on top of Chovy, and then I don't need to explain that. I've said it like 15 times now, but again, we keep saying the same thing. T1 goes in, they don't kill who they need to kill, and then Gen G just pick up an infinite number of kills.
And Lehens just walks at them with his shield glowing, and there wasn't really too much of an answer because these cooldowns have been used. They're not able to get out of the way. I mean, Leona was always a really great champion for Lehens. I think most notably for him, it's been Yuumi originally, right? But his Nautilus and Leona in that roaming meta for these supports from very early on in these games, Lehens really did become sort of synonymous with these kind of picks. And he's looking really, really good on it this time around as well. Spear, not going to quite find the mark there, but there is poke coming from absolutely everywhere. Zeus, oh my goodness! Canyon and Chovy doing a whole lot of work. Doesn't find that rocket, but it doesn't matter. They'll find the inhibitor and the one in the mid lane as well as Gen G utilizing this Baron relatively effectively, moving up to a 3k Baron power play.
It's a pretty good one, Atlas.
They're not going to spend that money, I don't think, because I think maybe this could be the last ditch as, okay, Ona goes in, looks for that fight, but Carrier, he's going to be the one to suffer for it. In goes Lahens as well. True Shot Barrage finding some targets. Gumayushi going to be his first one. And now Chovy just wants over the wall. He'll flash it in the end as Faker on the fountain, not going to be able to get anything done. And Genji, they will be able to claim the first Nexus in this series over T1. And we'll see what they have for us in Game 2.
Boy, oh boy, what a game number one.
Ooh, bit of a statement there from T1, from Genji.
Yeah, I need your okay.
Man, it's hard.
It is really hard.
I think it's in the bottom lane, but it's about where from the bottom lane. And I honestly don't, just flip a coin. Wait, do you want me to get chat's opinion? Let's get chat's opinion.
I want your opinion, Atlas.
I don't have one. I want chat's opinion. Mine's irrelevant.
This game number one.
Who gets POG, guys? Can you let us know?
No, it's too late. I've locked it in. I will stand by my decision.
Well, let's see whether it was you that was correct based on what I can see here.
So I want to talk a little bit about.
Yeah, go.
What we saw here was, as you say, Gembel being taken, Nidalee being given over. The Nidalee was a large part of where the problems arose, but I don't think it's just that. I think Pace coming out with the Ezreal came as a pretty large surprise. I definitely wasn't expecting it, at least not on this patch. And T1, they're going to go to blue side.
Yeah.
I expect them to recuperate. But a Genji that looks this good in the early game and wins the bot lane 2v2, I'd be absolutely terrified, Atlas.
Yeah, I certainly am. But, of course, T1 with a lot of ability to change things up moving into the next game. We are going to go to a short break. When we get back, the space is going to break that one down. We'll see you for game number 2.
나 바텀 투패 빼줘. 미드도 이제 내가 바텀 조심. 자 미드 먼저 깰게. 투패 딸피야. 이번에 끝내 생각 해보자. 내가 바루스 노플이면 안보밍 칠 때 나 그냥 풀건 쓸게. 근데 바루스 클린전이 있어. 그거 안 풀려 안 풀려. 오케이. 풀리나? 풀려? 안 풀려. 살려 줄게. 레 마공 레 마공 살려 풀 살려 높을. 내가 바루스 한번 볼게. 괜찮아. 앞라인. 오케이. 나도 그냥 맞아. 바루스 노플. 살려 높을. 어떻게 구해줄까? 나 안 죽어. 힐. 나 햄. 그래가지고. 왜 안 줬어? 덕구야. 멀어요 너무. 레인트 다이. 너 전멸 있는데? 시호 형. 되게 구해주고 싶은데 구해줄 수가 없네 오늘은. 형 맛있겠습니다.
The only thing colder than Paze's Ezreal is the space. It's very cold in here right now, but goodness gracious, Gen G take that first game 1-0 here against T1. Degon alongside Huni and Wolf. Guys, you more picks here in the draft, but really, really one-sided.
Yeah, I mean, it's T1 Gen G, right? It's the first week of the season. Obviously, neither of these teams are going to be at their peak in week 1, which is always why I'm hoping one day we can push this round 1 matchup a little bit later, but the warmth I feel from the bottom duo of Gen G is what's keeping us warm in this igloo where the AC is cranked. There's a ton of fans right outside. It's very hot outside in Seoul today. But anyways, the Ezreal pick, I was calling for it in the draft because when you look at the draft here for the side of T1, the CC is relatively conditional. You've got Varus ult, you have the ult from Sejuani, and the Talia. So yes, the Zeri was a fantastic ban because she would have been great in this position too, but knowing that you have the ability to take the Leona away as well, there's just not a lot of great tools to lock Ezreal down, even though he's not the new buff version that's going to be on the next patch here. I thought it was a great choice. It's Paze's second time playing the champion actually here in the LCK and 9th overall, so not a pick he's really relied on in his career, but he showed up big on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think from the support pick, I think it's just, I think more I see the Leona as like it kind of has to be kind of handshake between the Alistar as well. Like Leona, the performances like from like every single game is kind of been insane. Like even though you don't actually hit the non-target CC, it doesn't really matter. You start with the Q, you start with the flash Q, you just throw the ulti, you just throw some URE. You are really useful, and I think this game, it did so much work that make Israel so much huge.
That's right, and they got the solo or the 2v2 kill down on the bottom side of the map early on. That led to a Herald fight at 15 minutes where the game truly broke open here for Gen G.
This fight is just fantastic for Gen G. Watch Paze free firing. His ult goes to the center, does a ton of damage, goes in here, another stun goes down on a Faker. And Chovy offers a decent amount of damage as well. He's pretty mobile too, so you can't really catch him or lock him down. Canyon gets out, and it's just Paze and Chovy mowing people down. Double 80 carry with an insane frontline of the Skarner. Yes, the Skarner goes down, but the work gets done, and even the Weaver's Wall can't stop Ezreal's Mystic shots from coming through.
Yeah, I mean, at the start of the fight, I think it was like really favored to T1. That's why it was like 3-4 traded, and the reason why, because I think the pace that didn't really land T1. That's why it was like 3-4
definitely could have just played a little bit better.
The reason why, the better situation, but T1 decided to actually overchase the fact that even though they won and make them overchase, like there was a super blunder, even though there was objectives up and there's length pushed out. It was like just the real poor decision making right after the fight is over.
Yeah, and right after that fight is our second highlight because by this time it was over. They put the nail in the coffin up here on the top side of the map. Another fight where Paze got to free fire and really show off the power of the Ezreal despite only having less than double-digit games on it.
Yeah, I mean, again, literally a second here in the LCK. It's actually 0-1 before this, but T1 really over chasing in this scenario when there's a lot of CC here, obviously, for the side of Gen G. And once again, Paze completely untouched. And when the health bars go low, it's a field day for Ezreal. Fish in a barrel for him to just constantly fire these Mystic shots in. He can continue to chase because he's super mobile. He has his E to get over these walls. And T1 really just stepping into a no man's land.
I mean, from T1, the ones is they failed actually just going for own Corki, and second, and they went for Nidalee as well. They changed the target. They also failed. Meanwhile, I think Guma just deflects in there and is making like he was trying his best to trade it off like at least, but it even failed. Even though he traded, it would have been this like same result after the, because like they also failed 2 times in a row right at the first initial engage, and it's like the pace, as we said, like he's landing everything. He's so massive from the 3 minutes ago though from the Hala 1. It's just it was so cool for Gen G there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we might have an idea on who our POG is. Let's take a look. It's probably down on the bottom side of the map. It is. It's Lehen, not Paze.
Yeah!
It's the season of support, baby.
So, I mean, I ultimately did end up voting for Paze, as did Huni, but for most of the game, I was like, well, I mean, Lehen's got Paze ahead. This play here where Guma gets punished by stepping up, and even though he has Cleanse, he's not going to be able to get out of this. The play down here on the Zeus as well that I knew was going to be the second one that comes through, which furthers Paze's lead here, punishing the Twisted Fate, who's been left alone in this side lane. I mean, he played incredibly well in the early game, and I think Pays doesn't get done what he did in those massive team fights without Lehenz's help.
This is the chicken or egg. Which one is first? And I think it's like this one. The reason why I went for the Pays because he actually played really well in team fight as well. I was like, even like during the game, like I was like, Lehan's right now is the best player in the world. Especially after the MS, like he got one. Like, I was like, I think he could be, but I mean, I think either way, being as allowance for Pays. I'm sorry, Lehan's.
Yeah, 7, 4, and 1 were the votes there, with 1 vote from our friends over the Vietnam cast. But we'll see how things shake up. If Gen G win, we'll definitely hear it from the support, but they got to still get it done. Will they be able to do it? Let's send it on over to the M&M cast. It's Max and Max.
Oh, clean Dagon. Absolutely.
That's a banger, Atlas.
And now we'll know. Now we'll know, because clean, beautiful throws like that often lead to no throws in the video game that comes afterwards. Okay, so we'll now have to test the correlation between the two. So now pressure is on both Gen G and T1 to make that happen.
If I would, you know, get a nickel for the second time that Pace has an insane pop-off game, plays objectively amazingly, reaches an absurd KDA and still doesn't get, you know, POG, I'd have 2 nickels. Because the Kalista game at Worlds was the same, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, both times, we're not even bothered by it, because both times Lehens has been an absolute god.
Yeah, and this one I think, and we joke, this one I think was a little bit more contentious, and I think the split of votes make perfect sense, as well as the one based Chovy voter. Shout out to the VNcast.
Yeah.
Never wrong to vote for Chovy.
No, exactly, not robbed. And actually, VNcast, absolute gigachads.
Yeah.
I love it, absolutely
100%.
fantastic stuff. If we could call them and have a chat with them, I would commend them on their efforts, but unfortunately they were the only ones.
Yeah, and in this case, I think Lehens obviously did an incredible job in the early game in the pace. Once he took over, there was no relenting. So there were a couple of big things that I want to see change here. I don't want to see T1 opt for Nidalee given over to Canyon and Owner playing Sejuani. Like, of all the matchups, that one should definitely be avoided. I don't even think Owner played bad, but that's just not a playable matchup. And Canyon is, at worst, the second best Nidalee in the world, right? So just don't do that.
Who's the best? Hotshot GG?
No, I mean, I think Shun is a really good Nidalee as well. I'm saying at worst, you know, I'm covering my ground.
Oh.
I think Canyon's the best
I think
Nidalee
you
in
can
the
just
world.
say he's the best.
Yeah, okay. Well, you know what, Atlas? He is. So stop giving
He
him
kind
the
of
pick.
proved it in that matchup. As Tristana going to be the first pick here. Faker probably going to be the one playing that one. An understandable first pick, but I think that there are a lot of things. I mean, the Talia, even though Faker didn't find the victory on it in the last game, but Skarner and Italy could certainly come through. Skarner and Talia jungle could also come through.
Yeah, also wouldn't mind that one bit.
But the Nidalee is, yeah, if it ain't broke, I've said this before.
But it was broke from T1
in the good way.
Like, no, it was broken for Gen G. It broke T1, and they're still giving it over.
Yeah.
So the big thing here, so the Corki ban, I think makes sense after last game. The Rumble ban is interesting as well, because I wouldn't even mind T1 Rumble. That would be way better. Even if he ends up playing Talia jungle, I would prefer that over Sejuani again. That's the other pivot that I think we really need to see. But I mean,
there we go.
So most likely, this is the jungle Talia.
Okay.
Okay. Well, so I was going to talk about, I think the Zeri ban is the most interesting to me, because I think Zeri ban against Gen G is a great ban, but I don't know if it's warranted to do so in the first rotation, specifically because almost all drafts on this patch have played out this way, where the top side gets locked in, and then we go for, you know, maybe you pick an AD carry, but they didn't prioritize the Zeri in the last game either.
Yeah.
And you knew the Nidalee was going to come, and now Chovy's going to be playing his Yone into the Tristana. Most likely, he can flex the Tristana towards the bottom half of the map, like Doom can play technically, but I think it's most likely that it's Owner on Talia, and then Zace and Faker will swap champion.
Would you respect the pivot, even if Tristana isn't necessarily the optimal choice for the bottom lane? But we saw how well Talia can do into Yone yesterday. Showmaker versus BDD, that looked unplayable.
Okay, yes. but I also think BDD did a whole lot of queuing.
He did do a lot of missing of ability. That's true.
Which I don't think Chovy will. So I do think that there is a. It's the same to me as with Ari, where I feel like Yone reaches the point where there's so much mobility in his kit inherently, right? You can reposition with your snapback and then get a Q free and then find an angle for an ultimate. I think there is a lot more counterplay opportunity, even though the Talia will definitely make your life harder. I'm wondering if T1 are thinking about a Poppy support. That's actually one of the picks that I would really love. Was a big pick at MSI as well, and I think it will kind of hit the mark here, as we are going to again keep Paze's pick relatively hidden. Could just end up being the S-roll again after last game's performance, and the fact he still has that Nidalee combo.
And Leona has been locked in, and that looked like a very powerful combination. What the answer is going to be will be the next thing on the menu here, as T1 look to lock in a bottom lane by the looks of things, given this Jhin hover does come on through. Something that Gumushi has found success on in the past, as long as there's no kitty cat attached to it. See where Carrier is going to go. Saving counterpick for Paze is a really interesting one, but he's once again going to head towards the Rel. He did have some brilliant engages, even though the fights didn't work. I don't think that we're necessarily blaming Carrier for it. And why not just Ezreal? I guess maybe they could just Ezreal.
But just do it again. Not a whole lot of reason not to. Into Jhin. Jhin obviously also a bit of a lane bully.
Or Ziggs.
I wouldn't even, like, you know what, I'm thinking about it. Ziggs wouldn't even be bad, right? Because you can Lance can roam. You have the Yone for setup. You have Ziggs and Nidalee. Yeah. I think it's good. But
I mean, Valdez and Orcs live rent-free in my brain, so it's just always Ziggs. It's every angle is a Ziggs angle.
But realistically, when you get half of the POG votes and you played that game, I think you're allowed to just lock it in again.
Yeah, I think so too. And we'll just have to see whether T1 can survive the early game a little bit longer, because we know that Ezreal, when he isn't as accelerated as Paze was, can really feel like he doesn't do any damage at all. I don't expect that to necessarily happen. Paze has been playing extraordinarily well on this champion. Really great callback to his earlier days, as you were mentioning, Chronicler, back in Challenger. But Wolf's point really does stand. The fact that he hasn't played this champion outside of one time in the last couple of years that he's been here playing at the highest level does mean that you got to shake off some rust, and it looked like there wasn't very much rust. That's all I'm saying.
About to get in game number 2. I want a free gamer Atlas. I'm not going to be satisfied. We had the best LCK finals in recent memory. The best one for sure since I joined the LCK.
Absolutely.
I don't want to go from that to a 2-0. No thank you. But I'm looking at this draft and I'm not feeling great about the odds.
Yeah, well, we did see kind of a similar one work from Gen G, but T1 have changed things up. Let's jump onto the Rift for game 2. All right, Gen G fans raising their voices just a little bit here for game number 2. However, T1 fans still deafening here at Lol Park. It is a full house, as you would understand. Our top 2 teams from last season, our MSI representatives, facing off once again. And T1 beating Gen G, I believe it was last year. Summer, first round robin, was fantastic, getting the momentum moving towards the World Championships. That has been identified as a point, right? We've been doing a lot of retrospectives recently, with Faker being inducted into the Hall of Legends and all of that stuff. I don't know how important it is necessarily, but it is definitely huge vibes. So if T1 can come back in this series, find themselves a victory, I think it would be pivotal.
Oh, I really like your huge vibes. I thought, like, we're gonna end on a high note. We're gonna, you know, keep it positive.
Yeah. That's what we're going for. But it could be really hard. And I don't know whether this the Yone situation that we saw yesterday is going to be something that will occur again. Because it was Chovy that kind of taught BDD how incredibly strong Yone was. If you guys remember, one of the most dominant games ever. As Lahens goes in once again, Zenith's Blade is going to connect onto Gumushi as he walks his way out. Good Mystic Shot there from Paze, as Lahens is going to start drinking some potions. That hurt. As Carrier going to be softened up as well. Lahens, you can see, looking for it, waiting for that level 2, wanting to get that shield to Daybreak. Or the Eclipse, the extra tankiness. Yes, this is what we kind of meant. It's a decent win rate.
On the plus side, lethal tempo has been removed, so Yone he's not as oppressive, you know, early as he once was, where he could just win long trades just by getting access to lethal tempo.
Oh yeah, true.
So he should actually get punished a little bit more in the early game now by Tristana, which is great, because that didn't really feel fair previously.
Well, right now, Faker is doing just fine in the matchup. We know that Chovy is generally very, very good at navigating these melee matchups that can have difficult early games, but it's not like what we've seen from him in his last 3 games here in the LCK, which have all been Corki, a champion that Chovy has been very, very good at navigating the laning phase positively on.
The part that's the most hilarious to me is that Corki was like fundamentally reworked as a champion. He plays very differently now than he did before. He's like he's more of a, you know, like Tristan, like an early dive threat, like he, as in he dives on top of you and murders you. Much like Kenyon might be looking to do it, but won't actually get it. But he plays very aggressively in lane, and obviously Chovy was winning lanes before. But you went from what was like a mid to late game scaling teamfight threat to being an 80 bully, and it's like no, it's still Corki, it's still a Yordle in play. I will still
he plays
block
it exactly the same.
It's bad.
If you told me that like there was no change to Corki at all, and I watched Chovy play over the last couple of days, then I would agree. Okay, we're looking for a dive here. No 2v2 kill, but there's the Zenith played in. Immediate cleanse flash from Gumayushi as they're trying to get that kill first. It is going to be first blood going over to Carrier, but it's a 1-for-1 immediately. Still, I mean, with the fact that Gumayushi goes down, still a benefit for Gen G, but they traded one back, and that is so important.
We'll see what the wave state is going to be here as well, but I would say this favors also because there is an extra assist right on the side of Genji as owner.
Oh wow!
Stop! And Lahens might be waiting in that brush.
Well, in goes Keen. Yeah, flash out immediately from Ona. He is not going to risk that one. Lahens gets here at exactly the right time. They just knew that that cross map was going to be attempted.
It's the summer of support. Lahens actually takes a quick back. Okay, no, I'm not going to contribute. They probably knew when the play came through that realistically the odds of Lahens dying are pretty high. Guma does a good job here. Actually is able to flash out right of the CC check, giving himself a little bit more life. Carrier then also delays the play by hitting his W, but in the end it's not enough as
Ona is going to get pounced on here. He does stun himself, does Canyon, but now Ona not going to dodge that direction. Still, Canyon's going to be able to grab this Merkwolf and get out of there.
And one of the really big things is that in a lot of games, Canyon actually kind of broke the trend last time around. He ended up going for Darkseal instead. But generally, teams go, or Nidalees go E for Wisp first, right? Because it's the item that you can buy after you do it for jungle player, and it gives you some movement speed. But what you really want, and what Canyon is able to do because he actually got an early kill, is get early sword pen boosts. Because the amount of movement speed that Nidalee gets once she has those plus her passive, completely unreasonable. Which allows you to just power clear your own jungle and invade Owner, who now will be without a flash.
Also gives you a whole bunch of extra damage as Chovy is going to get Buster shotted away. It is a large investment though from Faker just to keep himself safe here in this lane. Chovy pretty happy about hitting level 6. He does have access to that ultimate now. There's a lot more of a threat here in this lane. You can see Faker still doing a great job staying up in farm, keeping that pressure on. And this Tristana has been such a pivotal pick so far in the LCK. Faker doing a good job so far, but Chovy in once again, unbinds his soul. And Faker able to just put on that explosive charge, even things out. Canyon looking for these first grubs. Not wanting to give those up, although will be distracted by some shellfish first up. Canyon not wanting to give that one away. He's going to be able to steal it with a smite. And Ona going to have to get out of there as Rocket Jump comes in. Ultimate misses there from Chovy. He's taking a lot of damage as there it is. The Impale, but the flash out from Faker just too good. As Pays possibly going to get stunned up as Lahens is right under the turret. I don't know about that one, but Gumayushi goes down. And Pays is able to pick up that kill. Can he get the other one onto Carrier as well? And it looks like the answer's going to be no. as Keria had a turret there. It looked like Genji didn't even really know that there was a turret there, but it was 1-for-1 underneath it anyway.
I don't know if they're unleashed, unhinged, or both. Genji bot lane is not messing around, Atlas.
It's something.
It's definitely something. But the key thing is, every time Guma dies, he falls further behind in experience. He falls further behind in CS. And we're again getting to a situation where one of the most dependable members of T1 is falling further and further behind.
Great block from Lahens, and when he went in, I love this from Pays. The young man just says, no, I will not make you look silly by going underneath that turret. We're going to kill him.
We're just going to murder him. The passive of Leona combined with the burst that Ezreal has in the early game ends up being enough. And as you're saying, like, Lahens was 100% dead there.
Yeah.
So they just turn it around.
Just send it. And the fact that they're doing it together is the most important part, right? Because I think there's a large reason why we were talking about this bottom lane of Genji as being the weak point. And it was because, and it was because they didn't have that synergy built up, and it didn't look like they were on the same page in a lot of instances. I think if there's ever an example of that synergy being repaired, is the fact that Pays is ready to go in on one of Lahens' crazy journeys. And it's beautiful to see, as Canyon's just going to get engaged on here. Keria pulls the trigger in a moment, and Canyon misses the flash. Genji just going to get punished out of nowhere here.
Big win there for T1. This game, even though some parts of it look similar, still feels very different to the previous game. Canyon, because he's playing in an AP versus AP matchup, not quite able to get the same lead. In the jungle, Chovy this time around, not Chovying necessarily as much, given that the matchup is a lot harder for the early. In the bot lane, yeah, it's still going the way of Pays and Lahens, but it does feel like
they have to work for it a lot more. Right? It wasn't 2v2s getting the advantages, it was resources invested into trying to make it happen. And this time around, T1 have been able to punish Canyon as Keria in once again. There's the Magnet Storm. They don't quite find Pays, but Lahens standing his ground, and Keria just going to get punished. Pays finding the last auto, and Ona just not here in time. Pays still fighting more as there's the cleanse to get out of the way of the seismic. Oh, speaking of seismic shove, it is Pays that now needs to have the curtains blocked, and Ona down so incredibly low. Canyon gonna punish him. Gumiyushi just needs one. Give the man one, but he's not going to be spared it as Canyon looks for the spear. Good dodge from Gumiyushi, but he wanted kills. Oh my god. Okay, Pays, leave him alone. Oh.
What do you do after that? How do you bounce back from that, Atlas?
I don't know. It was just too cruel.
That's not okay. They just... So, we're going back...
Yeah, let's go back to this part.
We're going back to a better time. Love this from Keria, actually. So they see a glimpse of Canyon, make the educated guess, and I'm pretty sure even if he got
he would have flashed right into a seismic.
So, good prediction there. Then this, though. So, Lahens misses his E, and they have a level advantage, so they feel very confident to go in here. Also, note the immediate response from Canyon on the minimap. The Pays and Lahens are able to do so much damage, taking down Keria.
And Lahens gets 6 right here.
Yeah, and it seems like that's the end of it, but then Lahens hits it. And then here, you're like, okay, T1's going to turn it around. Owner's here. And then Canyon goes for the re-engage, blocks the Jin shots, while simultaneously not going down and killing Owner.
That's the worst part, is the fact that Gumiyushi had so many options. It was one more bullet for so many members.
Also,
wasn't able to find it.
Thank you, Juna Strong, for confirming that there are in fact 2 top laners.
Ah, yes, here we go.
They are here. They are grasping, and they'll join.
In fact, let's watch this. Okay, never mind. We'll watch this one instead, as Lahens going to take a little bit of a walk out here, as Eclipse did wear off, so therefore it's a bit more susceptible, as this should be 6 grubs going over to Genji this time around. The 9 grubs from a Tristana composition, definitely feeling pretty good here, as now Pays has quite a few friends in the area. See, playing with a fair bit of gusto as well, but it looks like Ona just biding his time, waiting for an opportunity, wanting to see whether Genji do show anything here. As Chovy going forward onto Faker, finds himself a knockup, but isn't going to be able to get too much more than that. And plate money going over to T1. As Genji, they just read the fact that Ona has not been seen on the map. He could easily be there, ready to kill them. They will back away, but what that does is it gives T1 some free time with this turret. They grab themselves a couple of plates. Certainly good news for them.
Also means that 6 grubs are now here for Genji. And the 6 grubs, when you have a Yone on your team, that's going to be a menace in the side lane once Chovy starts hitting his items. Canyon is currently sitting on a, I think it was like 800 something gold lead, which shouldn't come as a surprise given how he's looked on... really, the worst Nidalee game he had was the first one. If you didn't catch it, it was... I think it was, if I remember, game 5 against TES, and like he died twice early.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, whoa, this doesn't look good. And then, I don't know what he ended, like 9-2, 8-2. And then every game since, he's just been shaking up the rust.
The late game Nidalee that we rely on.
And we talk about it.
Oh, okay. There is some fate trying to be sealed here by Chovy, but Faker is in control of his own.
Oh, and here now, Guma's going to get zoned out. And Chovy definitely not looking like his best Yone game. I think that is a high standard he set for himself.
Very true.
So,
he hasn't solo killed his opposition 7 times yet.
Well, he's also hasn't hit an ultimate yet, okay? I'm not asking for solo bolos on repeat.
Hey, BDD showed me yesterday that it's really hard to land those, okay? As Keen is going to be fighting Zeus, throwing rocks around, things like that. As once again, Faker going to be engaged on. The Weaver's Wall coming down there from Ona as he makes his way in. Flash out from Chovy, but Faker there to answer. Chovy not dead just yet, but does manage to get the reset. And Faker is out of there once again. Some teleports coming in, as we could see, but Zeus was able to stop Keen from that top side of the map. We'll be able to break that one, but ultimately in the end, not really anyone finding too much extra headway.
Faker now making his way back immediately into the lane. I imagine wants to try and get a plate before they go down and set up for a very proactive Jagger. Because again, Faker now has gotten his back in. Chovy has not, meaning that T1 will be able to get to a 2 Drake lead. And, we talked a lot about Genji, talked a lot about Canyon's. He needs to make sure he doesn't get taken down. Ikaria setting up a trap.
Yeah. This back is going to come out just and make sure that he stops him right at the very end. Very nicely done. So Canyon going to return the favor of the dragon by picking up this Herald. Cloud Soul. Oh, baby. What a weekend for Cloud Souls it has been. Fellow Cloud Soul enthusiasts around the world overjoyed with the amount that we've had.
Singing in the streets.
Oh, 100%. And it's been a very cloudless weekend as well. It's been beautiful weather here.
Oh, it's amazing.
So making up for it with some extra Cloud Souls. You'll love to see it.
Great weather to stay inside and watch video games.
Oh, yeah.
We will have the cross map for Genji, which will consist of getting themselves the Herald. It's likely going to be looking to break open that mid lane turret. Play to the Ruined King now done. This is a very different game from game one, though, and I do think it's important to note that. I still think Genji are in a great position. Still really like their composition. This poke is going to remain relevant. But unlike the previous game, T1 haven't gotten to a position where, you know, it's like you either get the absolute crazy engage or you just don't really have a shot. Still behind in a couple of key matchups. As
He's finding a great trade there. True shot barrage. Gumayusi knows exactly what's coming. Gonna move out of the way. Still, Pei's really putting the screws in. He has managed to get towards that. Trinity Force, no first item completed here by Gumayusi just yet, which is why Pei's able to take trades like this. It looks so good. As Carrier, not quite over the wall just there.
That's a hard jump to make for Horde.
Yeah,
that's a big wall.
I also feel like Jonah Strong made it look even harder by doing some zooming in and out over and over again, so I got a bit confused. So when it's going to save him there a little bit.
He's a master of visual storytelling.
He really is.
Oh, it's bot lane Herald instead. T1 does have a response, but I don't know if they have enough members.
Yeah, Flash comes out just to avoid the ultimate from Chovy here. A seismic shove just barely not able to land onto Lehens there, so the turret will go down. As, okay, Gumayusi looking for the angle. Canyon's in trouble, and there it is. It's Carrier that locks it down in the end. Seismic Shove opted into by Lehens, and the last bullet will rain true. Gumayusi going to grab that kill. It's his second of the game. 100% kill contribution from the man who was targeted by Genji so much early.
Really nicely done there by T1. This time around, they are in fact ready. Enough members there.
Oh, Seismic Shove avoided by Pei's. Not able to take this turret just yet as Keen, with some free time, throwing rocks around in the top lane. Look at him go. He misses his kind, Chronicler.
I think that lore was retconned now.
I don't care. It's my lore. Bless you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, our cough buttons don't work, by the way.
Oh, well, yeah, that's very unfortunate.
You're welcome. Everyone just got a big old sneeze.
As we take another look at this, so it looks good because Lance is able to dodge the Q, and then in the immediate follow-up, everyone tries to make it out. But this catch on Canyon not only gets the kill on him, but then Carrier is also able to extend the play. Lahens doesn't get the second dodge, and from there on out, looks like T1, 2 Drakes. Still, slight goal deficit, but not going to be the end of the world.
Yep. And I was a little bit unfair on the Hens there. He was doing his best to try and dodge the seismic shove, but Owner's positioning of it was just too good, so he was always going to get caught as Shattering Strike not going to connect here by Carrier, going to stop Lahens from being able to go back home. But I think this supportal combat not going to be that great for Carrier, as there's the ulti. Fate Seal gets a flash out of Owner as Chovy back out of there again, but Carrier doesn't have that option as Pays locks it up with a Mystic shot. Gen G straight out of the gate once again swinging.
Kills now evened up. 2 gold lead, 2k gold lead rather. 2 gold wouldn't be very impressive for Gen G. We'll have to see how T1 is going to adapt. I think we saw there in the previous play as well that worked out for T1 what they're looking for, right? It's the lockdown, isolating targets one by one, and then using the threat of something like your Jhin. And also, and we've been joking about this, we haven't seen either top laner join a fight.
At all.
And particularly
we keep looking at this top lane of Keen just very slowly farming a minion wave.
They're grasping.
Yeah.
They're both grasping. Here, Carrier trying to set up a play. Chovy, I'm not 100% sure if the ult would have hit, but Owner, I think they're making the right choice, not taking the risk. Because if he also ends up going down, might be able to get even more, because the mid lane turret's still standing here for T1. They want to hold on to that.
Yeah, Gen G need to probably say goodbye to theirs pretty quickly, but they will not push the issue this time around. Hair's breadth still left on that one. 20 seconds on this next dragon is, oh dear, okay. Getting out of there. Carrier just testing the waters, looking for an opportunity as Keen. Oh, look at this battle! Whoa! Rock goes wide. Okay. I just want to get excited for everyone, right? And so we need to put in some extra enthusiasm as Lahens. He's going to get healed up there by Canyon just momentarily.
He's doing this on purpose, right?
Yeah.
Also, he's trying to show us that I imagine both top laners want to try and make their way to the fight. Get it back in first, ideally, so they can spend their hard-earned money.
And then join this potential fight here. You can see both of them going back home now. Teleport coming in immediately. Keen does have his Merc Treads now completed as well. Picks up some rocks from the bottom of the river. Let's see whether he can throw them at T1 effectively. Finds Zeus with one of them. He's been doing that all game. Really got his eye in as okay. Now the Weaver's Wall will be able to guarantee this outer turret. Pays not too phased by it. Keen also, I mean, walls don't exist for Skarner. Quite a bit of being able to ignore walls. I liked it when we had Aurelion Sol and Skarner in the game. It's like, what is terrain? Does that even exist? Is that a thing? I think we were talking about choke points at one stage. Like, what is a choke point?
What's the most? So obviously you have Skarner.
So you have Skarner, Aurelion Sol, Kayn, Zeri, Yuumi.
Oh, there you go.
And then everyone can
Yuumi is kind of cheating, but I think that works.
She ignores everything, so I think it's not cheating. I think it's just the ultimate form.
Including fun and interactive gameplay.
Exactly.
As really cute here, Canyon making sure he takes the buff as Pace is backing to give his AD carry the buff.
Yep.
Right now, what we
Although, wait, everyone gets the buff.
I don't know if... Are we...
Isn't it
20, I think it's
after
past 20 minutes. Yeah, but we'll see. Sometimes everyone gets it, so it doesn't matter at all.
Yep.
Aw, still.
But it was a cute idea, and theoretically, maybe they didn't check their watches at that time, and so they were doing it for the cute reason.
I like to read as much into stuff that might be inconsequential as I can.
It was beautiful.
That's what we do as casters, after all.
Well, dancing a grenade, dancing across the wave, and Gen G setting up for a Baron potentially.
So the big difference between this game and the last one, besides what we already talked about, is that T1 has way more map control. So you saw as well that the amount, in the previous fight, that the amount of poke that Gen G can reliably land is way lower. There's also no Corki. That obviously changes.
It's a maneuver as Lahens is... Okay, Carrier is flashing out, but there's the ulti from Chovy. He gets bounced around, but it's just enough damage that's being done. And Owner is just torn away from the map. And now without the jungler, Gen G right around this Baron. They're not going to go for it just yet. It's a bit dangerous here.
Oh, Chovia's TP as well.
Yeah, there they go. Of course, they're going to start this one up. It is spotted by T1, but what can they do about it? That is the question. Teleport coming in, Genji committing to this one. Kraken Slayer done for Chovy as he makes his way back into the fight. Keen, incredibly tanky. Curtain Call has been utilized. Lahan's not going to be able to tank too many of these. Finally, he does go down, and there is a huge impale from Keen. Pei's now able to free hit once again. He'll pick up a double as the Arcane shifts, flashes, and gets himself forward. It's one last one, thanks to that beautiful red buff that was given to him so kindly by Canyon. He's going to take yet another kill, and now Genji are going to press even further forward. Ona, he just got out of the death chamber, and they're looking to put him back. There's the Mystic Shot snipe. Beautifully played by Payson. Can we cancel the buffs? We need to cancel the buffs right now.
It's too late. Atlas, they're already in the air.
Get Mr. Turley on the line.
They're on their way. Get the hotfix out.
Oh, God.
Genji, that's the best case scenario. Not only do you get the kill onto Owner, not only do you then get the Baron, but T1, and I think rightly so, looking for the exit kills. So much damage has been done by Baron. There's no Leona, no frontline left standing, but the Scorpion ends up saying no, being a big difference maker there.
And Keen is just going to walk towards Carrier here. And then ignore walls, as per usual. And I liked making that last fight about Pei's and the Ezreal, just to try and ignore the fact that Skarner is ridiculous. This champion is so but it was well played by Keen at the same time. And Genji holding on to control of that Baron pit beautifully. They'll now put it to work, taking down this inner turret towards the top side. Seismic Shove avoided here by Lahans as he finds the Solar Flare, or at least the slow, onto Owner and Faker. Fair bit of damage going down. Shattering Strike coming in. Carrier trying to get them away from this, but this is just not going to stand in front of Genji. There is at least a tower falling down on the bottom side. Seismic Shove is going to connect onto Keen, but he just doesn't even notice. He doesn't care. Maybe that he thought it was gap close that he could utilize as the fate is sealed for Gumayushi. The spear going to execute him. Keen crashes into a Nexus turret. And it should just be the 2-0 right here, right now for Genji, as they do not stop pushing forward. A 10,000 gold lead, and our MSI champions are looking to continue that streak into the LCK with a 2-0 start to the season. If this will ever die.
No MSI hangover for this team. Lahans is cackling.
He had a brilliant series. This guy right here, though.
I know we had a split vote in the previous one. I was happy that Lahans got it.
Yeah.
But this one,
I think we get to have a chat with the bottom lane, right? We get to have a chat with the bottom lane for the POG interview. What do you reckon?
I'd be inclined to say so, Atlas. And we are jubilant because it is a pleasure to watch the two teams that represented us at MSI face off. But to watch Genji look so dominant against a team of the caliber of T1, I think is kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah.
It was not what I expected. I was expecting a Genji win. I think collectively we all predicted them.
So.
And we should, because they won MSI. That part, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But this, a 24-minute game.
The thing that I wasn't necessarily expecting to continue after MSI was the incredible form of the bottom lane. And the fact that Pei's and Lahans only go from better to better to better, that is what I am incredibly impressed with. This man on your screen right here, and I think you deserve a fair bit of that praise. Pei's is going to get his POG for this one. You deserved it 100% for the last one. And I've been outspoken about this. I was pretty hard on Lahans during their first season this year. But that stops now. The man he still cooks some crazy stuff, but it is working. You can see the ideas behind it.
Atlas.
And with Pei's just following him, looks fantastic.
I want to reiterate as well, it's really easy to, and I think the one thing that I would again reiterate is that the Nidalee, to me, it can't be given to Canyon.
I mean, there's a few things that were given to Genji here that were problematic.
Well, I do agree, but I also think that against a team that's playing as well as Genji is currently, you can always do this. If you give Corki to Chovy, man, they get right like that. That's one of the core issues. The reality is, with how well Genji is playing, I think draft played a part. I think that there are definitely going to be adaptations. I think Owner on AP junglers doesn't look like he really has the same level of impact I think that T1, outside of a few skirmishes, just wasn't able to beat Genji out in the team fights. But I want this to be a moment of, again, the amount of damage that's pumped out here in this fight by FaZe. Chovy with, I think, a 2 or 3-man knockup here as well.
Yeah. And then, you know, Keen lifting everyone up and stopping them from being able to do anything.
Skarner's silly.
Yeah, Skarner is very silly. And then FaZe finding this amazing snipe. Loved that one as Ono was around the corner. Gets over the wall, gets the Mystic Shot, curves it all the way through.
This Mystic Shot, man.
I don't know what the True Shot Barrage was doing, but it's maybe to throw him off.
이거
We're going to have a listen to Genji, though, as they make the victory march towards the T1 Nexus.
미드 3차까지 하자. 미드 역전까지 하자. 에나 붙었다. 네. 미드 라인 멀어. 네. 갈래? 이거 진진. 오케이.
He just doesn't take damage.
노플이야? 네, 노플. 오케이. 에, 뜯어볼래 이거? 오케이. 뒤에 크산테 내가 막할게. 뒤에 크산테. 앞으로 가, 앞으로 가.
This is the second best league in the LCK atlas that they're facing against.
수환이 이제 발전했는데. 그러니까 이제 그냥 개 못했는데. 시영이야.
24 minutes.
Yeah. It's Genji looking like they didn't really notice the fact that they were playing League of Legends for a really, really long time at MSI. Just going from strength to strength and having some giggles after this one as well. Big smile on Chovy's face. And Faker did a bit of damage on the T1 side, but FaZe, I mean, he was just off the leash in this particular game, and very similar to the last one. That's a lot of damage.
It was relatively even until it really wasn't, and it starts, ironically, because normally that's T1's move.
Yeah.
With a Baron. Not only do they get it, but from that point on the game, just immediately, that's 2 Baron power plays back-to-back where they just win the game.
Yeah. Didn't even get to spend the money, so the Rebel Baron power play just wasn't even really all that available. But that was a shellacking. Absolute dominance here from Genji, looking phenomenal in week 1 of the LCK. Of course, a lot more of the season to go, but that is certainly the right foot forward. Let's throw it back to the gentleman on the space to break that one down.
Thank you very much, guys. Clean throw, clean game. 2-0 for Genji over T1 in the Battle of the Finals. I guess the rematch of the finals here in week number 1. Dagon alongside Huni and Wolf in the space. And y'all, I think Max said it best. Shellacking is probably the best way to describe it.
I don't know. I mean, I thought the Summoner's Brief would be hot. That was my first expectation, but Genji definitely they put some big AC right there.
Yeah, I could really feel it. But that's becoming a running joke over here on the space. But I thought that second game was obviously a lot more competitive than the first one. The first one was completely a wash, right? The second one, there were some good moments there for T1. And, you know, some really good movement from Faker. You and I were talking about it a lot. Chovy wasn't able to land any of his big ults he was trying to hit through the mid game. But the bottom duo, again, just setting up even Canyon to hit spears. The Ezreal pick was fantastic once again. And when you take a look at the draft, you could see, just like game 1, it's another good angle for the Ezreal. Same Talia pick this time around, even though it's flexed into the jungle. The Cassante is going to struggle to close that gap, and really only the Rel in this draft can actually try to get on top of Ezreal. It's just so difficult, and there's so much heal here. You've got a really strong front line, and I think T1 were just not ready for this Ezreal pick. They banned the Zeri again, this time in first rotation, and Genji had this game plan prepared from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, it was like just really easy to neatly play out as well. It's just during the middle game, it was like the Connor just had a lane control against Cassante, and Yone definitely had the lane control as soon as he got Bam Scepter, and with the tier 2 boots, he was like having a fantastic lane, even though he was not able to land it. It's just like Faker still was actually down CS than Chovy, and like, the bottom like, completely over right after just the 4 minute the bottom dive. It was like same thing. I think it was pace where it was like basically unstoppable.
Yeah, well, that's what we've got here for you in our highlights. We take a look at early on the bottom side of the map. That's where the action started, and it was a couple of Jhin deaths here as it was Ezreal taking advantage of it. It was a lot of the focus here of Genji.
So Jhin is extremely immobile as an AD carry, so it's really easy for Leona to punish him, whether he's ulting, whether he's in lane. I mean, Lehens took some really big liberties here, and I think, you know, disrespected Guma, I think, in a lot of ways, but Guma wasn't able to react, lost his flash, the follow-up here was super easy, and Paze's trust of Lehens, I mean, that's something that casters point out a lot, is definitely there. I feel like Lehens in the past was a little bit frustrated with his aggressive playstyle not being followed up as much on by Paze. This type of playstyle, you have to follow up, and he did.
Yeah, but basically they got those 2v2 like 3-7 minute. Like that was how doomed it was before actually T1 both duo lane was, and that's how like the Paze was actually just farming up so well. It's just like even after we didn't show like the replay what's gonna happen, that was even more digester. They couldn't finish anyone from the Genji member, and it's like it was a digester. And right after that, it's just like it was so tilted just by watching.
Yeah, T1 were able to pull back a couple of kills with skirmishes down on the bottom side of the map. But then up there at Baron, 21 minutes, it's a catch that leads to just a very, very quick end of the game.
It's not the first time in this series we've seen Lehens take a really long roam angle around, flank angle I should say, around, and it's just a punish there onto Owner. Playing his first game ever of Taliyah, if the stats I looked up earlier are to believe, who kind of missed the Taliyah meta before, ends up getting caught here, blown up. This was a Baron opportunity, and Jin, guess, can't crack even at range here. These champions, there's too much to block.
And Lehens, it's kind of funny here, it's like he actually secured the Baron because the fourth bullet from the Uzi came in. And this is the thing that T1 actually, as soon as they kill Leona, they probably thought that they could probably get some extra kill, but it wasn't even close. This is like definitely overplay from there. It's like even Owner here, he was trying going in, and he kind of taken down by the Paze Ezreal. This is just really sad.
I'm loving what we're seeing from Lehens. His MSI performance, amazing. Obviously, coming into this week being the most consistent player, I think you could argue, on Genji. The Leona, such a strong pick for him against these types of drafts that we're seeing from T1. Paze following up, bringing out the Ezreal today. I feel like Genji has way more in the tank than even what we saw in this best of 3. And if T1 is your strongest opposition heading to finals, the 5-peat might be on the table. It's a bit early, but I'm just saying it.
Well, let's see who gets the POG in this 2-0 of the second game. You'd imagine more focus on the bottom side. Yes, you get Lehens, you pull Paze in, and it's really cool to see the synergy between these two guys.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's the Lehens beat the Paze. The Paze also got help from a lot from the team. But the thing is, like, it's just, again, like, it's echoing again, like, it's really insane that he actually just haven't really played Israel that many games on the stage, especially, and be able to perform these well, like, without actually having single death, playing almost perfectly. Like, sure, he could have landed a little bit more a Mystic Shot, but it doesn't really matter because, I mean, he doesn't need it.
It's crazy too because Paze is so young. Like, he missed all the other older Ezreal metas. A lot of players who haven't played Ezreal in LCK that much, you know, had played it while they were preparing to be a pro, right? And actually trying to fight their way into the LCK, played in other regions, but Paze is so young that, like, he missed most of those metas, right? And yet still shows up so incredibly well on it.
Hey, which one of you voted for Lehens?
That was me.
All right, yeah.
He caught Owner. The game was pretty close until that moment. I mean, T1 had fought their way back in a little bit. I thought that was the kind of lockdown that guaranteed them the W.
Now, the summer of support continues here with Wolf, y'all. This was the shortest game of the summer split so far this whole week. Pretty nuts here that we got it in this game. One thing about T1 that I felt like you brought up earlier, Wolf, they find these picks and these fights, but then they just push a little bit too much, and it feels like maybe they're just pressing against it.
I mean, the thing about Ezreal is that while he retreats, he can still offer damage because his Q was on such a low cooldown that he can continue to both back away and offer that damage, and it's really frustrating to play against that long range, but yet also very difficult to lock down AD carry. And T1's playstyle is often too hard forced and win these scrappy fights and turn fights and turn skirmishes where, oh, it looks like T1's out of position, then they turn it, then they collapse in. Ezreal just doesn't allow for that, and if you hit those skill shots, you can punish T1's playstyle so incredibly well.
And also, I think because the Genji in the macro play, the level actually has gotten even upper, especially MSI is over. And throughout the MSI, like during the MSI, I think they improved a lot. And T1 actually just have to get back their form that they can actually have to be calculated before they actually make the fight. They can just, they have to know when to stop it. order to keep going.
Well, with that final game, we have the closing of our week, which means we had a bunch of great plays. So we are here to award the Musinsa standard, Musinsa stylish play of the week. Why don't we see what it is across this week? Because we've had many of them, and a lot of them look pretty good here, Wolf.
Oh, it's going to be Lucid on the Invade. This is actually, honestly, probably the best play of the week and the biggest gap that we saw in any individual game, as Lucid is able to go between these two turrets. If you guys missed this game yesterday, absolutely go back and watch it. Then Pyoshik is seen on a ward when he goes to the right, assuming Lucid actually took the safer path back. So he sees him on the ward, decides, okay, I can actually go and take his blue buff. That's the ward down there on the brush. So he comes back over here and takes it away. He basically 4 buffs Pyoshik in this game. It's insane.
I mean, 4 buff in, I don't know, like, well, I don't even know, like, when it's, like, in the Elite Major tournament, like, it's been so long, it's actually getting the 4 buffs.
That's crazy. Again, congratulations to Lucid winning the Musinsa Stylish Player of the Week. You'll be awarded the best player set from the Musinsa Standard Sports look. So again, thanks to our friends over at Musinsa, and congratulations to Lucid. All right, we also have our weekly best celebration ceremony. So teams, we had some really good ones. Kwangdong Freaks, I'm always a big fan of that. Do we have Bulldogs there? No, the Shades coming on. What do we think?
Okay, so execute, you know, I mean, it's honestly points for effort on this one. I feel like it suits his play style. We also did have this.
Come on and slam!
I mean, this is just the whole team, because if it was just Rasmus, I would have been like, well, he got subbed out real quick, so... Also said, like, solo kill on his, I'm like, well, we know what happened in that lane. But I'll give DRX a big A for effort on this one, too, because it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, DRX got some move, got some vibe.
Hey, Yehu hitting some LA. I didn't know we had Inglewood in the house. Okay.
Yeah, Yehu's got style. I love this player. All right, let's see what Kingan's got.
Clean.
I mean, it was well executed. I thought, you know, I mean, sometimes cleanness is the best. I don't know.
What did you see down there on the bottom? Wins for me. Let us know who you think wins, and we'll get back to you with that one. The best celebrations from this week. I'm so surprised. I'm a big fan of the Bulldog. Bulldog's thing is really good. All right.
It's overplayed.
We have our winners interview right now with G-Sun, so why don't you go ahead and take it away. Thank you very much, G-Sun.
Luchamos mientras los cobardes hablan.
Guys, this is G-Sun for the POG interview translation, joined by the bottom duo on the side of Gen E after their clean 2-0 victory up against T1. Congratulations, you guys achieved a very clean win against T1 and climbed to the top spot. How do you feel, Lehan?
Más actuar y menos hablar.
It's another clean win for us. It feels amazing, and we will keep working hard for the upcoming matches. I did have a really clean and smooth game, so it feels amazing. Hey, you guys brought out the classic quad duo lane, Ezreal and Leona. Ezreal is actually getting buffed in the next patch, so what meta analysis does this fit? Leona right now is pretty good, and we were thinking which Unicorn goes well with Leona, and then on the second phase of the pick, and then Ezreal would be a decent pick. What is Ezreal's Leona combo? I mean, it's a classic combo, right? Pays, but if he does not have Leona by his side, he cannot land his Qs. But if he has Leona as his support, he becomes the best Ezreal in the world, according to Coach Kim. So I have to play Leona for him to make sure that he lands those mystic shots. Lance, it was very important to have lane purge with that comp, and your performance was outstanding. Let's take a look at this first blood. How did you see that angle? Was this actually enemy kind of overextended a lot, and then we already had a lot of very high proximity of our jungler as well, so we were just trying to juggle it around and then wait for Canyon to arrive, but we managed to get a lane kill even before he arrived. So what are your thoughts on the tank support meta featuring champions like Leona Alistar that synergize well with Warmog? I don't really, you know, like have a high preference on a specific meta, you know? When a meta emerges, I have to just adapt to it. Does that mean you're confident in any kind of meta? Not really, but maybe kind of, just a little bit. And Paze, your Ezreal performance was a complete cinema. It's been a long time since you actually saw a precise skill shot from an Ezreal. Were you also surprised by your own Ezreal performance? I mean, it depends on days. With Ezreal, you have to be on a really good day to make sure that you lend all of your skills, but I have never had such a great day like today, so I was also kind of surprised, like, wait, why is it going so well? And your teammates also mentioned that your Ezreal has improved so much. Have you been putting in a lot of effort to increase your proficiency? I think my Ezreal has always been decent. But last year, there was never a Ezreal meta, so my Ezreal got a little bit rusted, and then now it's back in the meta, so I kind of got back on the, you know, back on the track. Now, Paze, 9 minutes into the game number 2, we were able to see a great teamwork from Gen G. So, can you walk us through the situation? Terrell came in. I thought Talia was right behind him, so I was like, wait, this is doomed. And then Talia was a little bit far away, so thankfully I was able to finish up Terrell. And then after that, Leanne, would you like to follow up on this? Nothing much happened here. We were actually not speaking much. We were just trying to do our best in order to play out that situation. I mean, Leona took a shot for Ezreal. Paze, we're thankful. I mean, that's what he has to do, you know? Obviously, he has to tank for Ezreal, so yeah. And Leon's also replied, yeah, he's our prince, so I take care of it. And Paze, you were just recalling over there. How are you so chill? Well, this time, Canyon was Italy, so I have to make sure he gets all the curbs he needs to scale. So I decided to just go back and let him take all the minions. And then that was the fastest game this season, and Genji's bottom duo won't stop having Lane Kingdom. Is that thanks to Mata's intense coaching or maybe training? Well, yeah, he does give us a lot of, you know, good quality feedback, which means we get scolded a lot. I mean, we always get scolded by Mata anyways. So I'm kind of afraid to go back to the green room, but still, yeah, he's giving us a lot of help, so amazing. And he was able to help us out to improve a lot. What about you, Paze? Yeah, he really helped us in terms of, you know, synergizing together as a bottom duo. But I think we have to improve ourselves. So, with Mata's intense training and teaching and coaching, we will be able to perform even better. And just in 2 days, June 18th is Kenyon's birthday. Last time, you know, you were singing a happy birthday song so wonderfully for teens, so should just sing one for Kenyon here as well, together with Paze. Birthday song by Paige to Leanne for Canyon, who's having a birthday today. Genji secured another victory up against T1, and your next opponent is KT, the only team that actually beat Genji in the regular season last spring. What is your resolution? They got a 2-0 win today, so I hope we can come back with an improved performance next time and get another win. I want to make sure to continue this momentum. Thank you. And that's the end of the interview from Lehan's Space on the side of Genji, and back to the space. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that wonderful translation, Ji-sun. Just channeling my Valdez right there. As we see Genji on top as T1 falls to the middle of the pack.
Just to point out, Genji, the only team that went 2-0, 2-0 in the entire week, and they did it against the toughest. So I don't think the start gets better than this.
And for me, I do suspect some plays the Quantum Freaks as a plus 3 point winning streak. Let's see how they take the war. Like I've said before, this type of thing, and hope they're not pulled up.
Yeah, well, you said their best opponents, Quantum Freaks, are in second place, so they haven't played them yet. As we take a look at the schedule for next week, Nongshim and Kwangdong Freaks will kick things off with their Saturday showdown being Nongshim versus DRX, and we'll close out the week with Hanalife and KT. What matches jump out at you here?
I mean, honestly, both the T1's matches. T1 faced off against D plus Kia, who beat Hanwha and are on kind of a tear themselves, and that's really an upper tier matchup. And then playing against Kwangdong Freaks, a matchup that's really important for the standings. I think T1 definitely can bounce back and have a 2-0 week, absolutely. But if they drop that D plus series, momentum-wise, maybe Kwangdong Freaks get the upset there, because that's their matchup they're going to be focusing on against Nongshim. Should be an easier one.
Our challenger schedule as well will be going on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday on air and co-streaming. That actually will be tomorrow. Oh man! All right, I'm just still thinking about how in sync Gen G are, because they can't even get the birthday song. It looks like they are in sync out of game and in game. It's been a fantastic first week here in the LCK Summer Split, and it's just beginning. We're gonna have so much more action for you over the next 8 weeks, and can't wait to cover it all. On behalf of myself and everyone here on the LCK production, thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you next week with more action.
No dejemos sobrevivientes. Vas a jugar y menos hablar. No me ocultaré tras el escudo de nadie.
El jugador ha abandonado la partida.
Te mereces lo que recibes.
Tu equipo ha derribado una torreta.
No toleraré la debilidad. ¡Carga! Gobernaré Freljord.
Un enemigo es imparable. Ha muerto un enemigo. La carne que se despedaza es carne que vuelve.
Fui forjada por el
Otro regresó.
Enseñémosles los dientes. ¡Pisotéalos! No hay fortaleza en la servidumbre.
Un enemigo está dominando.
Parece que Bristle tiene hambre hoy. El dolor no es nada. Yo gobierno Freljord.
Un enemigo es casi un dios. Se acabó.
Vivir con miedo no es vivir.
Tu inhibidor ha sido destruido.
¡Carga! No tiene sentido correr. Luchamos mientras los cobardes hablan. ¡Estampida!
Tu torreta ha sido destruida. Ha muerto un aliado. Se acabó.
¡Acaba con ellos!
Asesinato doble.
Demuestra tu valía. El frío no perdona.
Ha muerto un aliado. Asesinato de enemigo.
No nos arrodillamos ante nadie.
Un boss ha sido destruido.
Regalo de sueño.
A quien busca.
No hay botín para los cobardes.
Tu inhibidor ha sido destruido.